Very distinct.
No, we only got 3 people in the chat room. You want to wait a second?
Okay.
Too late. Too late. We are live.
No, it's okay. I already did it already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Lewis! He is up on the money, everybody. We are live, and I didn't realize it. Hello, Isaac.
Wait a minute.
Hello.
And we have North County Bigfoot back with us finally.
Hey guys.
He's a little live button drunk right now. He got to push the live button. He couldn't wait. There you go. So,
Alive.
We are live.
Yep. Glad to have you back, buddy. Glad to have you back.
Good to be here, everybody. Can y'all hear me good? I hope.
Thumbs up.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good deal.
So we got a bunch of people in here. We got Isaac. We got Show Me Sasquatch. We got Bill and Carol. We got a Whisper. Hey, Barb. What's up, Barb? Hello, Sharon.
Chris Jarvis.
Chris.
Show Me Sasquatch. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, guys.
We got William Lunsford on here. Just came off of another podcast of World Bigfoot Radio with Duke, and I was in that chat for a little bit under a little incognito under the podcast channel. So they had some pretty incredible pictures there, William.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. I've got some really good areas around here. So I've got really good researchers around that helped me a whole lot. And as I've told y'all before, anytime you get pictures, man, they look great on one computer, they look great on one camera. Then you send them. Sometimes they don't always look as good as you want them to. But don't ever doubt that the effort is there. Like I said, I try to verify mine with at least 3 or 4 people before I put it out there. I don't put out blob squatches. I try to have eyes, face, and everything else like that. So everybody, please know that when I put something out there, like I said, whenever I've sent it, on this end, it looks good enough that it's going to be evidence. Sometimes it's not. They just, you can't get them to pose for pictures very well. Like I said, sometimes it says I don't play well with others. So other than that, but like I said, please know that everything I've sent you and that we talked about it again is true and something I've sent you, and I'm hoping that folks will find it interesting.
Yeah, pretty cool. Really.
One thing, Duke will be jumping over here in 15 minutes, so I just wanted to clarify that with everybody, so everybody knows.
I feel like Jerry Lewis without Dean Martin, or like Keith without Tom here without having Duke here on the show. So we'll get him going in a minute, and then Duke's always interesting. Has an amazing memory for things that have happened to him and for things that have happened to other people. Again. Is always able to add some valuable insight with the things that he's experienced, and I'm honored to be here, y'all, with him as well. He's and I run a lot of my stuff by Duke. Man, Duke doesn't just cut me slack. I mean, hey, this needs to be better. We need to work on this. So again, that's what makes you a better Bigfooter. I don't have any problem with anybody saying anything like that to me. Hey, try to get this better. Believe me, I'm trying. And so when you have that, and you got Bigfoot people that are sitting there. I'm not going to fool y'all. There's nobody going to fool this group of people nowadays. Man, this is some of the most educated Bigfooters we've ever had, And so you better put something out there. You better say something out there that's, whether it may not make sense to some people, but if you've experienced it, you better have experienced it, because there's going to be somebody there to call you on it if not. And so again, we're lucky that we have that group, because the closer we get on that kind of stuff, the better we're going to get towards having one classified at one time. Again, I don't want to see them in a quote zoo unquote, but I would love to be able to see one if we have one in a natural deal again, like what they had at Jurassic Park, where you can see them in their natural environments and things like that, and let people observe them and realize just what an amazing creature they are. The thinking that they can do. Most animals just react. Well, Bigfoot actually thinks. They don't just react, and so they'll do things with you. They'll mess with. Sometimes they love to mess with your mind, and all you can do is just grin, and just say, "Thank goodness this thing." Quote, likes me, unquote. Other than that, because if he didn't, y'all might be having a different guest on tonight rather than somebody else. So again, that's my hope for this, and that's one reason I do the research that I do. I said these things are not all the same. They're not all the same regionally. Y'all know there's some out there in California. They're a little different. Here in Arkansas, Texas, they're different. Up there in the Pacific Northwest, they're different. So they're not all the same. They don't all look the same, even though we classify them as Bigfoot. They don't all look the same. Just like people, their footprints are different. Their body structures can be different. So again, whenever we have somebody say something, well, that doesn't fit whatever I know about Bigfoot. Well, it might just be something that you haven't discovered yet. So just hang on to that evidence and let's see how it plays out. Man, that happens to me about once a month. I'm like, golly, man. I think I related with y'all last time. I had a Bigfoot with a beard. I got him on my game camera. Like, oh my gosh, man. I thought that deal like Harry and the Henderson was just a joke where he had the beard like what I've got, but it's not. There he is. He looks just like I said, somebody off of Scooby-Doo.
My favorite movie, man.
Yeah, mine too. That they had so much insight into what these things are.
And you know what's funny? It's like when you get into the subject and you start to learn things and you go back and watch that movie, you know that someone in that production does what we do in order to get that kind of information. Exactly. They knew what they were talking about and they knew how to make it happen. Like the end of the video and stuff, when they put him back out in the woods and all the babies pop up and the female pops up and they were just tree stumps right there and you couldn't tell. You know what I mean? And then they just stand up. It is typical Bigfoot. I mean, I've got picture of one crouching over trying to be a bush. Know?
I mean, exactly. So it's just really the way it is. You said the knowledge that they had. I joke about the classic line from the Legend of Boggy Creek, which was filmed right here and actually occurred here within 15, 20 miles of my house. Was, well, they always travel the creeks, and that's true. I've got a buddy. He's a typical joke. He goes. The classic line for me in the Legend of Boggy Creek is the baby. We're getting a breeze on the baby. So I'm like, oh, good.
What did she say? She said, Betty Jean, put the towel over the window. The baby's going to get a cold.
Well, I tell you what, we make the real Legend of Boggy Creek too. I know who's supposed to go in there and play the girl who said that, because Chrissy, that was wonderful, girl. I guarantee you that was perfect, boy. And so he jokes to me. He said, that's my classic line. But that was something that even then that was surprising that they knew, because they do always, travel the creeks. I know you guys have all found the same thing. If you find a waterway, it's like I had spoken last time about my dad having a friend who was a safari hunter in Africa. And he said, man, a lot of times all we had to do was just get down there by the water holes, and because once it starts drying up, everything's got to have water. We got 3 times as much water. It's what we have land. Our bodies are made up of 3 times as much water as what they are mass. So, and that's the way. So when we find out, like I said, they knew right then. They always travel the creeks, and how they knew that. But it is so. I found it to be time and time again, and that's one of my first things I research. If I in a new area not sure, I try to find the state parks around there, or I try to find the camping areas around the lakes and stuff like that. And generally, if you get in there and do some pretty diligent research, you're going to find something, or you're going to find somebody that knows something anyway, and that's going to lead you in some good directions right there.
Getting back onto the topic of them all being different. We got, just for example, we've got Lewis down in San Diego, right at the border of Mexico and California. And then in the middle of the lower third of Southern California, my friend Bronzini Bigfoot, Brandon, he's a little bit east in between me and Lewis. And then there's me, who's at the upper third of the state. And even us three have talked together, and even in just that short span of distance, they do things differently.
Yep, exactly.
They do things differently, and they work with what they got. And I think it also has to do with, just like people, the way they're raised and what their parents have taught them. So it's very interesting. So in just even that short period, it's a couple 100 miles of distance, they do things. There's similar things, and then there's things that are just different.
They're just so adaptive to their environment. I had a place here. There's a lake that I've been going since I was a little kid, and the grass took it over. And I had been gone there. I quit fishing there for a couple of years there, as I was starting to work some different jobs and different shifts. I finally got some time to start going back down there. And the grass that had grown this lake, we would find where something had like taken a full double armload of clump of grass, pulled it out of the lake and dumped it on this gravel road, and then gone through it like it was using it for a net to look for foodstuffs. Then you go 50 yards down the road and you would see another big giant clump of grass that had been picked up, carried there, dumped in the middle of this road, and then look for foodstuffs like that. And that's just incredible to me. It wasn't people. Number one, there's alligators in that water, so people ain't going to get in that water and do that stuff. But number two, like I said, to see how it had been gone over and stuff like that. I mean, if I want catfish, I go, to local restaurants. What they do, they just adapt to what they've got. And of course, they eat tadpoles, they eat snakes, they eat turtles. We can just go down the line, but they're so adaptive to what they have, and that's just what makes it just such an interesting subject, just to see how good these things are using their environment.
Yeah, and speaking of their adaptiveness, one thing that I've learned in my adventures is I've actually learned a lot about humans. But the Sasquatch, they adapt to their environment. Humans adapt the environment to them. We come in with these big buildings, we put concrete up, we put lights, we put electricity. I mean, it's two different worlds. I mean, they're living off of the earth. I mean, you can't get any more living off the earth.
That's right.
And in nature.
They also can eat wood.
Yeah.
They eat sticks. I know that because I have it on recording. They eat sticks.
I find
certain ones,
yeah, some of the structures I find here, you find where they've bitten into the sticks and stuff like that. And then you'll find sometimes the pine cones, sometimes the bites out of the pine cones are so big, it ain't a squirrel. You just have to look at, oh my gosh, whatever took this bite was just really big. So as you said, we humans adapt our environment to us. They adapt to their own environment,
Right. And Lewis,
yep.
You're talking about how they eat sticks. I'm wondering if they're eting certain sticks, and they're probably just eating like the soft middle bark out of it, for kind of like internal bug repellent,
and then eat it.
Yeah,
right.
I'm wondering if it might be certain sticks that offer kind of like an internal bug repellent, kind of like cedar. Cedar and redwood are natural bug repellent tree. So I would imagine if you got that in your system. It does have a lot of
mosquitoes there.
Yeah.
And the bark, I watched the show this weekend there. I try to watch as much as I can, but any show that has apes, just for whatever commonalities Bigfoot has with the apes. And I saw some there that were eating the bark. Well, one of the apes walked up and just kind of bared his front teeth and stuck it onto the tree and just peeled the bark down. And then they ate the bark. So, I mean, that would be the same thing as saying they eat quote or wood or trees, something like they do. But it's got a reason for them. It's, they might, besides just liking the taste, it may have fill some kind of void in their diet. It may do the deal, as you said, just for insect repellent and stuff like that. So it's really, it's amazing to me just how adaptive they are. And they can use the sticks in the trees just like other monkeys do. They use them for tools. They use them to reach things. And I've had them throw sticks at me. They'll use them for weapons or warnings, I guess you would say. Hey, you need to leave here right now. And so really, really cool. It's one of the coolest. When you get a stick or a rock thrown at you, it's really, really neat. But then you realize too, they're pretty deadly with their throwing. They're not going to pitch any Major League Baseball games, but they can pitch enough to get me out of the woods when they need to. So.
Could you imagine going to a Major League Baseball game and seeing the pitcher as a Sasquatch? I mean, come on. That batter takes a swing and that bat is broken every single time that ball makes contact with that wood. You know what I mean?
Better up, Bigfoot.
I feel like I watched the episode of The Munsters when Herman gets drafted, the very fun way.
But start the Bigfoot Baseball League.
Well, that's funny because they love balls. I've left balls out there. I've left golf balls. And man, I don't know if they play with them, but I know they take them and I don't get them back, And again, something else there that they do. putting out Legos. They love the daggum Legos like the kids. They do marbles. We put out golf balls. We put out little army men and stuff like that, the little pack of green army men that you get. I mean, they're going to have someone. I've got one doll I put out there, and they come up and this one just messes with this doll. He'll take it 30, 40 yards and put it in this thicket. And when I can't find it, I know what thicket to go to. Then sure enough, I go back down there, and there it is again, it's almost like a Linus on Peanut security blanket, but I know where to leave it. He's going to take that little doll with him everywhere before he goes. And when he goes, come back in the daytime, and there it is. So
if they're playing with you, they're playing a game with you.
They are.
I mean, yeah, they're playing hide and seek. You know what I mean? Okay, well, you found it last time. I'm going to take it again and put it somewhere else and see if you find it. You know, they have a total sense of humor. They do. They completely mess with you. But once they get used to you and they know that you're not a threat, they'll start to warm up, just like people.
Yep.
You know,
and things they want you to find, they tend to put them where they know that you generally frequent. I've had them put stuff down by where I've had one of my camera trees and stuff. They'll put my cameras in. All of a sudden, there'll be stuff that's laid down at the bottom of the tree. And then I explained to everyone about the gifting stump that Steve and I have, where we have the peanut butter. We leave the peanut butter. They take it, come back a couple weeks later, and the lids have been left there back on the stump. There you go, Christy. There you go with the peanut butter, and also where they'll leave the wrappers there. So, and then you put another thing of peanut butter down there, and it's gone for 2 weeks, and then you find it again. So again, it's just amazing, and I find just about every time that I go, you know, there's always something new there. You know, I don't find, not everybody finds something every time, but I am bound and determined that I spend a lot. I'm kind of stubborn, so I spend a lot of times where I'm gonna try to find something. You know, and sometimes I just have to totally, all right, God, this ain't working. You know, if you try the same thing, you're getting the same results. And that's the definition of stupidity. I'll look for something different. Okay, you've been trying this, let's try this. And all of a sudden, well, there goes the lights. And you're like, oh, okay, look at this. And that's what one thing my research partner and I have been working on this year. We've been working on the way they travel and stuff, and the way they're marking their trails. And so they've started marking their trails a little differently where we are. So he's been really getting to follow that more than I have. I'll get to expound on that with y'all later on, because I don't want to step on his research. I don't know where but it's going to be one of the coolest things you've ever seen in the way that they use to mark their trails, and the way that they habituate in that area right there.
Yeah, markers, the way they weave when they mark their trails down here in Louisiana, I noticed that the sticks in the ground sideways,
right,
like exactly. Sticking up like this.
Yep. And mine, you're a perfectionist. If they have something they put down there as a structure and it gets offset, you give it a couple of days and you go, and that thing's going to be turned right around again. It's going to be just perfectly up and down, almost like they're obsessive compulsive. So, folks, if I don't have chat, my chat has left me here. But anyway, so I apologize that I don't get the chat, but
I've said that for years, man. I've got Bigfoot OCD. Absolutely. I mean, it did not take me long. I mean, they have to have things a certain way.
They do.
And if you move it, they're going to come back and they're going to put it back the way they had it, because they're driven to do that. That's the way that piece of wood has to be, or that rock has to be. And they're going to move it. They're going to put it right back the way they want it. It's almost comical in a way. You know,
I'll take pictures of mine because I'll see how it is.
It's almost like that time I had my recorder on my stick. I had a recorder on my stick, and then I took the recorder home, and then I left the stick in front of the bush. Well, because they are so used to having that stick inside the bush, they put it back in there for me. I was like, where'd the stick go? And then I looked in the bush, and they put it in there for me. And the recorder wasn't even on it. I'm like, what the world?
You left it out, buddy. It's supposed to go back in the bush when you're done using it, you know?
You know, I jokingly call them the janitors.
I'm like,
they do things the way they want them, you know, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're and I've noticed
too much
throughout my adventures, they're very militaristic.
Yep.
And where they position themselves to watch people, how they operate, they do the whole triangle thing. and they triangulate and stuff like that. It's really, really credible on how they operate once you get into that, that part of it. Once you get used to them, they're around, they're watching you. Okay, where are they watching me from? Okay, well, I got this one to my right, I got this one to my left, I got this one in front of me trying to move around behind me, and they'll sit in a one thing I've noticed about the ones in my group is that they'll sit in a triangle pattern and just follow you wherever you go. So it's like you always have one on each side and one behind you. But if you turn around and start walking back, that one behind you will move around back behind you. And they always, in my area, they seem to position themselves where a lot of trails converge into one area because they could see multiple different directions for a long span from one area, and they just sit there and watch people all day long.
It's like Duke and I have said before, we're their entertainment. I think we said this, like they're infatuated with us as such, and thank goodness other than that, they just run us out of there and we wouldn't have a chance to do any kind of observation whatsoever. But they are infatuated with us and the way they do. And then the way that they, as you said, they're militaristic. They each have their certain post, almost like somebody does on an army base or something other like that. And he's got his own responsibility to do. And that may sound silly to some people, but when you get out there and you witness this, it's not. These things, they want to know where you are. That's why I laugh at people, and not to be ugly, just they come out there dressed in so much camouflage. But man, we all know, man, when you pull up in that truck, they know you're there. It's just,
oh yeah,
it's just a fact.
They do. It's funny as stuff you bring up the camouflage and stuff like that. It's like, who do you think? I mean, once you really get into this and start figuring out how they operate, how they work, and all this, and how they work together. And it's like, you want to know why game cams work? Because they watched you put it up.
Right.
You want to know how they knew you were there? Because they watched you pull up in the parking lot.
Exactly.
You want to know? They're watching you all the time.
They do.
They do. And you see what Patrick Vaughn says.
I sure do.
I learned a lot from him. He's an excellent tracker. I mean, he's good at what he does. When we was out in the woods, he knew exactly where to go and what to do. And he's right. They do study you. As soon as you step foot out in them woods, they know.
Your car pulls up. It's making, the tires are making noise on the gravel parking lot. You turn the car off and you slam the door. You open the trunk. You slam the trunk. You're doing all kinds of noise. You're just calling. It just signals to them, okay, someone's here. Let's go check it out.
Exactly right, Lori. You may as well wear hunter's orange because they know you're there, and when they do, it's and they still tolerate you in that right there. I've actually dropped off people 100 or so yards before we got to our area where I was going to park, and to see if it made a difference. And sure enough, as I pulled up, my research partner said, "Man, did you hear the knock?" I'm like, "No, man, my truck was still rolling." "Yeah, man, sure as you pulled up, there you go." So they're communicating just really, really quick. And as far as for watching you, and they're going to watch those babies too, and
they want to know, they're allowing us into their home to enjoy it.
Yep.
And they want to know that, they want to make sure that we don't go into a place where they don't want us. So they're going to follow us. You know what I mean? And it makes sense. I mean, a human would do that with their baby.
Well, certainly.
To protect their baby. I mean, they're very similar to us,
Yeah. Oh yeah, in many different ways. That's what people fail to realize. They're just like us. They're a different kind of a people that stay in the woods and mind their own business. They eat, they sleep, they poop, pee.
The way nature intended it.
Exactly.
The way nature intended it.
When they burp too.
And they fart as well.
Hey, Kristen, that off
Lewis has them recorded burping.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Lewis has it on audio.
What?
I mean, it's clear.
Yeah, I got two burps.
What?
Yeah.
What if Wait, what if
It's
you in the
obvious
woods?
what it is. It's absolutely
wait.
obvious what it is.
I gotta throw this question out there. To y'all. What if you're walking in the woods and you hear all of a sudden you hear crunch, crunch, then you hear.
That's when you run.
Well, I've heard the crunch crunch before, and that's very unnerving. Because I've stopped, and then it stopped, and then I finally started going and went a little bit, and it started going again. I stopped again, it stopped. So it will unnerve you. But if I hear the other part right there, I'm hoping that means it's already full and doesn't need to eat again. Therefore, I don't need to run.
Right. You know, and that's funny that you bring up the whole start and stop thing. As I had gone camping not too long ago, I invited my buddy Dave, who goes by Sasquatch Omega. He's been roommates with some pretty well-known people in the field, and he's got some pretty intense private videos that he showed me. I mean, it was like going to the monkey exhibit at the zoo with all the sound and everything. He's surrounded by it. He said it was the most unnerving thing because there wasn't just one, there wasn't two, there was three. No, there was probably a dozen that surrounded him and his friend, and they're out there at night, you know. And we went to an area, we found structures, and from the moment I walked in, I said, we don't belong here. We need to leave. We are not welcome here right now. This is not our time. And he stalled, and oh no, let's go look at this. Let's go look at this. And as the longer we were there, the worse the feeling got. The worse the feeling got. And I finally said, no, we need to leave now. And I panned my camera to my left, and you see one eyeball peeking out from the right side of a tree. You see another eyeball about 8 feet over to its left, peeking out from the left side of the tree. And I'm going, yeah. And for some reason, we did not take the same way out that we came in. We ended up taking a slightly different route because that was the way I felt that we needed to go. And my friend, we're walking out, and my friend Dave says, stop. And we hear, ch-ch-ch. And he's like, we're being followed. And I said, I heard that. I know. Let's go. And he's all, let's go 8 steps and stop. We go 8 steps. We stop. Ch-ch.
That's it.
And he's all, okay, let's go 16 steps and stop. So we went 16 steps and stopped, and we hear, ch-ch-ch. Well, we finally make it back to camp, and we're sitting there talking around the campfire, and about 10 minutes later, we hear chunk, 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 chunk. Yep. Something come flying through the trees. We hear thump, thump, thump on the ground. And then we hear a branch break. And we both look at each other, and we're like, well, yeah, we were followed. We were escorted out because we're out there at midnight in the pitch dark with flashlights, you know, and headlamps. It would take nothing for them just to run by and take our head off and keep running. You know what I mean? If they wanted us, if they wanted to kill us, they could have. But no, they made their presence known. They put off their little vibe. Luckily, I was enough to pick it up, you know, because it was just that spine tingling. We don't belong here. We were there during the day documenting these structures, and it was fine that we were just there. You know what I mean? Look what we found at night. No, we don't belong there. So, you know,
an unsettling feeling.
Yeah.
And escalate. They'll let you know when they don't want you there. And if you don't leave, they may tolerate you for a while, but then it's going to escalate. They're going to get you out of there.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody thinks the wood knocks that they do are just these real loud tree shakers. Man, I've had them where they just went along with real life. The tapping was just real life. They were letting all the rest of them know where we were, And so it's again, it's not all these deals, but it will escalate and they'll get you out of there. That feeling, I said that for me, that it's been at times where the feeling in the back of your neck, what we call the vibing or the infrasound, tends to get stronger and stronger and stronger. So on that case right there, we talk about. Too many people don't want to listen to nature. We have a sixth sense. We do. We know when things aren't right. It's just not because we're crazy. There's just times you can tell when things are not the way they should be. And so that's especially the way it is with these guys. I told one man about my very first sighting, told him where it happened, and he was the foreman of this particular neck of woods. Well, they had to ride this gas line him and another man with four-wheelers every time. Well, sure enough, as they went down this one time to ride it, what we're talking about actually happens to it. I won't go all the way into the full story, but when I finally go back to work, he goes, "Man, you're just the man I want to see." He said, "Have you eaten lunch yet?" I said, "No." He goes, "Man, come here, let me tell you about this." So anyway, the very same thing we're talking about. They get there, they're riding the four-wheelers. They've been there many, many times. I know the Bigfoot has seen him, but this day it wasn't right. And the man that was riding across from him, he's like, "Hey, you ever get that feeling something's wrong with us being out here?" And he, he's a real logical guy. He goes, "No, man, ain't nothing wrong with us being out here." And he goes, "Man, I swear," he said, "I've got that feeling." Well, they get right back along, same thing again. It potentially goes until they get right to the same place where I had my sighting. And man, then the guy who I had told about my sighting, he hadn't told the other guy about it, but he walks back, he goes, "Man, we got to get out of here." Because it was the exact same place. And they went down, they rode, took their readings off the meter, and then, man, they took off going. And when they got back to the truck, he said, "Man, it's just like you said." He said, "It was creepy." He said, "Because you knew something was wrong and you wanted to get out of there as quick as what you possibly could." And he finally heard a couple of sticks over there rumbling around up there. And that was all it took for him to realize, hey, he didn't know whether it was arming itself or whether it was getting ready for a race with one of them four-wheelers, whichever one it was. He didn't want to be a part of it. So they left. And so he told me about it. And man, it's exactly as we're describing here. It's just one of those things they'll let you know. And I said it can escalate. You don't want it to, but it can. So whenever they do, don't be stupid. Just take it and go and say, "Hey, maybe I'll see you next time." And it looks like we got a visitor in our room here now. And
what's up, Duke?
Like I said, we got complete. Duke, I told him it was like being Cheech and Chong.
Hey guys,
me being Cheech and Chong being there, man. So go ahead, y'all hear from Duke, man.
Oh, what happened to William?
I'm here.
We lost
Lewis.
Oh, we lost Lewis.
Yeah, we lost Lewis.
Yeah, I think
He'll come back on.
Yep.
Hey, Duke.
No.
I hope he can hear me. Can he?
He looks a little frozen in time.
The Sasquatch has got his tongue.
No.
can you guys hear me?
Working.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, go ahead, Duke. Now we can.
How you doing, Duke? Great show tonight, man.
Duke, he always puts on a great show, man.
I'm having problems here. Going to switch to the computer.
Okay. I'll say for him, the amount of preparation that he does is extremely. I mean, it's a bunch. He doesn't just throw, just put something together, then throw it out there. He does a lot of hard work on his podcast, and
he does.
Yeah, he does, and I hope.
He
and
does.
I've been on some great podcasts where all the guys do that, but it's exactly the same way with Duke.
We know how hard that work is and stuff. I mean, before it was just me and Lewis. Now we got Christy involved, and now it's all three of us, and we're all doing work, and it's.
Well, that's one reason I don't have a YouTube channel. The question is, do I have a channel? No, I have a what's called a smartphone, but it's supposed to be a smarter than me phone, because every computer I've got is smarter than I am. So it's about, I can type little text message to it and I can answer it. But other than that, I'm not very good with it. But I do. I'm eventually learning, and my wife is teaching me a whole lot, and hopefully I'll be able to add something later on. I'm learning now to drag videos from one place to another, so maybe it'll get better the next time. So.
I'm the same way, and I love the whole drag and drop.
Yep.
The feature, the whole drag and drop thing.
Yep.
It is the easiest, and some of the things it doesn't allow you to do it, and it's just like, you got to take it over here, then you got to do this, and then you got to send it here, then you can send it over there, and it's like, Well, that's a lot of work for a freaking 7-minute video. You know what I mean? Is it really worth it? You know,
It
just
is worth it,
What
you know, 'cause regardless of how much, you know, you can't never tell from that one video or that one person you talk to. It's going to give you that bit of evidence. It's going to help you get your next sighting, or it's going to let you help somebody else to get their next sighting. So like I said, we can learn something from everybody as far as it goes. Sometimes what you learn is what not to do, but then that's to be employed also, you know. So if you learn from their mistakes, you certainly need to learn from your own as far as that goes. But man, with these animals right here, creatures, wherever you are, or forest people, wherever you want to call them, man, they're on an intelligence that's pretty close to being par with ours. The only thing is they're not necessarily doing arithmetic like we do, but you can knock 3 times sometimes and they'll knock 3 times back. They recognize something as far as that, you know, as far as that goes.
You know, like I said earlier and stuff, you know, how they have taught me about people, humans.
Right.
I've come to find out that humans are absolutely oblivious to their surroundings at any given time.
Right.
And a main thing of what they do, at least in my area, if you don't move, people don't see you.
Yep.
I've stood 10 feet off a trail. I mean, in plain sight, just stood there, didn't move, and people just walk right by me.
Exactly.
Completely oblivious. I went to one area and I sat up on a hill, not in a bush, not wearing camo, I think I was wearing a red t-shirt.
Yeah.
10 feet off a trail, a very populated trail where someone's walking by every 10 minutes for 3 hours. And there was one person that found me. It was a 5-year-old little boy. And that little boy said, Mommy, there's someone up in the bushes up there. And she didn't even bother to turn her head. She said, oh, no, there's not. You're seeing things. Come on, let's go. Grabbed her stroller and kept walking. Never even looked. You know what I mean? So it's just, humans are just...
You know, at times there's a certain value to not being seen as well. You know, we tend to dismiss it as people. We tend to be such social animals, but there's a certain time when it's a value just to sit there and retain your anonymity, you know, as far as you not calling attention to yourself or everything else too. Get out there with a big old hog, about a 300-pound hog on your trail, and you'll realize real quick the value of not being seen, because they tend to... People think they're blind. They're not necessarily blind, but they tend to react more to movement. You see one of them dudes and how fast they can run, you realize real quick what value there would be to not being seen on this. And certainly, you know, the same way with Bigfoot, especially to do some evidence and to observe it in what it's going to do naturally. What it's going to do naturally is going to be different than what it's going to do once it knows you're there.
Yeah. Once they realize you know that they know or whatever.
Yep.
Well, yeah. Once everybody is in that mindset, okay, this guy knows about us and we know about him, it's on.
I said,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, we said, you know, they know we're there, but like I said, they have to pinpoint you. And, you know, and they will pinpoint. We've had them out there at night on us, and they sit there and they'll sneak up here, and finally they'll sneak around, and finally they'll get you pinpointed. And then if you're having any activity, as a rule for us, it's going to quit, because they realize you're not another Bigfoot, you're busted, and you may as well go try to find you another area, you know. So they do that. And if they get separated, they'll do the same thing. They'll come get your attention. They'll move you around so that whichever one's part of their group can get back together. When they do, then they're gone as well. So really, really neat, you know, stuff like that. You realize just what a thinking creature that thinks with intentional intent there with what they do. It's not just something that they're just reacting with, but they're actually thinking with. Most animals react. Bigfoot thinks, and there's a difference.
Yeah, big difference. And then most cases, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's some of the
tracks.
some of the people I've come across
you know,
in my life, they're Bigfoot are definitely smarter than people in most cases. I would say that.
Oh, by far.
You know, so
Lewis, how far from the town of didn't say San Diego? How far are you, and how close do they get to the metropolitan area there from where you do your research at?
Lewis is, I think, a 30-minute drive.
30-minute drive
from his house, and I'm literally like a 25-minute drive. But where I go is surrounded by big high-dollar houses. I mean,
Right.
they're literally in people's backyards.
Exactly, they are. That's exactly
You
right.
know, I mean, you know, you got to go way deep out in the woods
mine's
to
1
find
hour,
them and
1
stuff
hour
like
away,
that.
and
No,
it's 1 mile from a campground.
Right. Well, and
yeah. So there you go.
They'll come up in neighborhoods. You know, they're not.
They're not scared to go anywhere.
Well, you know,
they definitely know that they are the apex on top, and there's nothing's gonna scare them. There's nothing that can scare them. I mean, I think firearms might get them a little concerned, but other than that, unless a shot is directed in their direction,
but just
it's just a concern.
But just as like what you said, their mindset is more intelligent than us because of the fact that humans want to destroy things. They do not want to destroy things. They want to leave things as natural as possible. Take what they need, not what they don't need. Unlike humans, what do? We go to the woods. People smoke cigarettes. We throw the cigarettes down on the ground. We throw the trash on the ground.
And the cigarettes cause fires and burn down all their it's just, I mean, they've watched us for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And they've seen Civil War. They've seen the War of 1812. They've seen what humans do to each other throughout time. They've seen what humans have done to the Indians.
Exactly.
Duke can
Hello,
tell
Duke.
You got us there, Duke?
The Duke is there.
Duke.
Yeah, Duke lives in Montana, man. Even though he lives in close to a metropolitan area, and he can tell you the way they're at out there in those big woods like that compared to, for sure. Can't you, Duke?
My father-in-law lives in northern Idaho, and he's got them on his property. That was actually where my first sighting was. And the panhandle of Idaho is only like 87 miles wide. It's not very wide, and Montana, I've been through Montana. I mean, it is thick. I mean, it is super thick. The woods are super thick. I mean, one of these things you'd literally reach out, grab you, pull you into a bush, and you'd never be seen again.
Sure.
It would be that fast, So.
Yeah, we got the Bigfoot up here thicker than flies on a cow patty too.
Yeah. Well, from how thick the woods are.
That's gross.
Yeah, I mean, they ain't anywhere. They can hide anywhere. You know what I mean? You'd be 3 feet from one and never even know it was there unless it stung. And then the average human would probably be like, oh, there must be something dead off in the woods, and just brush it off like that, and this thing could just reach out, snatch you, and, oh, where'd so-and-so go? He was just here.
They're so good at hiding in plain sight, even though they're so big, man. There's just nature's coloration. I don't know, y'all might expound more on the hair, whether the hair follicle or whether the medulla of the hair, anything else like that, whether it allows them to kind of to blend in more so or what, but the way that they have with their coloration, man, like I said, and the shape, their body shape, most everything in the forest is up and down like that. Very little is crossways like this. And with their body stream, their shape, man, they can stand right there and look at you, and you don't even know they're there unless you're really observing.
Well, their hair tends to blend in with whatever's around them too, especially in lighted conditions. They've got hollow hair.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that probably works nice as an insulation too. But the other thing is that it picks up the color of whatever's near it, especially if there's light hitting it. They'll blend right in with whatever their hair tends to be near. So it tends to break up their outline a lot. So between that and the fact that most of them are dark colored, so they can stand in the shadow and disappear. Right. And then the fact that we're like dum-dums, like T-Rex on the Jurassic Park movies. Well, don't move and he won't see you. Well, actually, I just watched a show on that the other night.
If you don't move, we don't,
Yeah, if you tried to pull that on a real T-Rex, you would get eaten. They just did more research on that. And yeah, it didn't matter if you could move or not. They'd still see you. Humans don't notice you if you don't move. And you better believe Bigfoot figured that out a long time ago. They're just standing like that.
We're talking about the color of them. I've got two that are black in my area and one that's red. And I'll tell you what, the two that are black love to hide in the shadows. They love to hide in the dark spots, where the red one will pick the area where the leaves are red or reddish brown. But, you know, they know where they'll be hidden the best.
Yeah, what
And that's where they go to. They know, you know. So
that's a fact.
That's the way nature teaches them.
They're not only just hiding from us; they're hiding from the animals they prey on. Too.
Right.
Color vision as good as us, but they got other better senses. So
they're hiding from their food sources also.
Yeah.
You know?
I do a lot of bass fishing, and I do a lot of fishing during the spring. When they're about a foot of water, they'll be doing their the bass will be spawning and stuff like that. And if you don't have really good glasses, looking into the water, you can't see them, and you're right there on top of them. Well, the same way with the coloration of Bigfoot, man. If you just sit there, if you're looking for a whole Bigfoot in the woods right there, the chances are you're not going to see anything. But you're looking for that difference in the color, the difference in the shape, you know, the difference in what goes up and down, what goes sideways. So in looking at that, and then all of a sudden when you start doing that, you realize, man, I have missed so much by looking, having things, trying to pigeonhole everything as the way we see it instead of the way that they would see it. So that's what makes it really cool.
A lot of times you go into the woods and most of the time you're looking eye level to everything. So you're pretty much looking at their belly button or their crotch.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we're not used to looking high or seeing something that big. You know, hopefully we're not close enough to even, get that close to the crotch area, but,
Yeah, if you're in a thick forest, really,
you're all tugging on the branch. You're like, that's not a branch.
I'm not gonna say anything. I'm a big.
So what a lot of people don't realize is they don't
say something about that.
Are getting low. They'll get on their knees. They'll get on their bellies. I've shared some pictures there on Duke Show that I got earlier this year. And the thing comes down. He lays down in front of my camera, and me and my partner Stephen walk up and I said, "Stephen, we got a skookum cast here, like what they made with skookum, where you can see the body." Well, sure enough, I've loaded up the card there onto my daggum card reader into my computer, and sure enough, you see this Bigfoot laying down. I mean, just laying down, and he's got his head down to where the light is not getting his eyes, but he's got his hand reached around and grabbing hold of the candy bar. They don't mind laying down like that right there. That's nothing, and they don't mind climbing the doggone tree.
Yeah.
So like I said, we tend to look along with our lines. We don't tend to look up or down, and then when we do, I think that's going to start maybe adding a whole lot to what we start seeing, or at least seeing things the way they see it, so we can have some sightings in there.
Don't forget, they'll put up a whole lot.
That's why we always find stuff later in pictures.
Yep.
Right. That's one thing I've noticed. The best way is just go out, film your outing, go back in when you could sit down and think and watch it without being on guard, out in the field, and slow it down to like quarter speed, and that's when you'll see them. You know what I mean? So it seems to be what works for me.
Did you two go out and Bigfoot together out there, Duke and William?
Haven't gotten to yet. We're going to next year. If he's good enough to have me after the show tonight, he may say, "I don't want to be around this crazy guy, man. He can stay in Arkansas and not come here." But no, I would love to, man. Like I said, I respect his knowledge. I try to respect something from everybody, but he has so much knowledge that he retains. He gets to go through a lot of video. He gets to talk to a lot of people. And so, like I said, the things that you learn from that right there, I said, especially all the junk that he gets, like you're talking about the videos and stuff, and you see him photobomb. He and I talked just tonight about, somebody else had had one and never even saw it. Then all of a sudden they go back and look, and next thing you know, there's Bigfoot there in the background. These pictures that I get off of my Spy Point camera, most of them are at night, and not all of them, but the ones that you have at night. But man, you've got to zoom in on every little part of that picture and just go side to side to side, and finally you'll see the one body part. And then all of a sudden, then the whole thing will start to materialize. You're like, stupid, why didn't you see this at first? You didn't see it because you wasn't looking in the right way. See the whole thing.
And they're good at hiding.
Yep.
Bama Bigfoot's over here in the
chat.
Says, "I look down more. The young ones will come in closer down low. And I have one in my area that's a belly crawler. That's his favorite tactic, is to belly crawl, because he knows that.
Well, what is
I
it?
know.
Yeah, I got one in mind too that tries to get close to Oscar.
Yeah, they belly crawl. They're very militaristic. You know what I mean? They'll
What is it called? The spider crawl. The spider crawl. I seen somebody drew a picture.
No, it's the watermelon. The watermelon crawl.
The watermelon crawl. Somebody posted a picture and I seen that. That's pretty wicked. How they can get down. They look like a spider. I've never seen that yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, their legs.
Hopefully I will.
Yeah, their legs go way up, like we're like out of proportion, kind of weird kind of thing. That's what people say. It's like it's a weird walk, almost like a I don't know how you say it, but their legs go way up past their hands, like they're not even supposed to be doing something like that or something. They said it was real creepy seeing one walk across the street like that.
like something like, I don't know if y'all can see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where at the shoulder it goes up, and then at the elbow it goes down.
Yeah.
And that's how you can tell
their body lower to the ground.
That's how you can tell you're not looking at a bear. Some of these videos, people send, sometimes they send them in good faith, but you're looking at a bear. It's not a Sasquatch. You can tell the difference, But Bigfoot's rear end, man, is built like two daggum basketballs. And anytime you got big old basketball rear end,
he got junk in his trunk.
We can tell you more about that than I do, man. He's got to see a bunch of them from different parts of the country. I've only got to see these from mine around here.
Really kind of flat.
Yeah.
It really kind of comes off the back, really flat, and right into the legs. It just there's no shape there, So I mean, it's very easy to tell a bear.
Yeah.
From, a Bigfoot. Once you get into this, you know what you're looking at. You know what to look for. You know when it's a bear and when it's not.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's very plain as day, simple.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like looking at the color yellow and the color green. They're two different colors, but it's they're masters of their environment. You know what I mean? So,
of course.
if you want to learn anything about
William,
survival,
how many Bigfoots do you have in your area?
Man, I've got about 6 different areas that I really hunt a whole lot, and I have probably got, in one area there, I think I've probably got at least 3 troops and maybe 4, and then each one of these other areas seems to be just one prevalent troop in there, and the numbers seem to vary some as based on what I'm finding in footprints down there. But I'm gonna say probably the ones I look, I've probably got maybe 7 in all out of these areas right here. But like I said, one tends to have multiples. One of them, man, it's like a daggum playground. I have got so many juveniles, it would blow your mind. But I have them. They're there. They're little. My wife got a picture of 2 babies this year standing at mama's legs, and then I showed Duke a picture I sent, I think maybe last week, where this one on my spy point, and like Duke said, it looks like she's trying to show you her baby right there at the camera, and it does, doesn't it, Duke?
Yeah, it sure does. Well, she's like a foot and a half from the damn camera, and she's holding it out like this.
Yeah, she's holding it out like that.
Show it to you.
Wow.
So
and the babies they're rambunctious too. They go everywhere.
They're this man that I have befriended last year, and he actually he's got 6 of them, I think, on his property. But he said the last year when he was in there, one of the last ones he saw, he said there's a baby, and said the mama sits underneath the cedar tree in the same place, and the baby goes and he runs a circle around in the pasture and just flies up and hits mama in the chest like that, he said you can almost see the joy, and then it'll take off and it'll go to running again, and start out on 4, get up on 2, and then come and run and fly and hit mama in the chest, So they are really those young ones are really something. They've got a lot of energy, a lot like our kids. We've seen a couple of them there, mamas that have had twin babies, and you see the mama actually turn around. It's like the babies have got each other and they're shaking each other like kids do and stuff like that. And we actually have one video when the babies were acting ugly, man. She turned around and her eyes just changed color, like she's like, "You better quit, or I'm fixing to bust your tail." I saw my mama's eyes change that color. Y'all probably have too. And I knew,
I've theorized that too and stuff for a long time, that they can change the color of their eye shine. You know what I mean? Based on the mood, based on their emotions. You know what I mean? If they're feeling threatened or something like that, it might be red. Or I've seen like a mustard yellow, and I've seen a bright white. You know what I mean? So the mustard yellow, I think I disturbed one of them napping, and it just kind of looked up and blinked at me. I'm going, those look like eyes. How weird is that? Oh crap! It just blinked and I bailed. You know, but I went back and looked at that bush, and whatever it was laying on its belly had to be at least 3.5 to 4 feet thick, because there was an entire hole that was blocked out by this thing. And it just looked up like, dude, what are you doing? And it just slowly blinked at me. And I went, oh, crap, it blinked, I'm out. You know, this was in the beginning of my discovery of the ones in my area. But I think I know which one it was now. But, I mean, I've theorized for a long time, you know, depending on their emotions or their feelings and stuff, you know. Their eye shine can change, you know.
Wait, I was gonna say, Duke, what do you think about the eye shine? What is your
when they're angry, their eyes turn red, and I think the main reason is because their blood pressure is going up. It's pumping more blood to their eyes, therefore the light reflects.
The blood pressure. I should take some lisinopril with me.
As far as different colors of eye shine go, I've gotten feedback from quite a few different researchers on this, and one of them was in the fortunate position to have multiple people in a field with multiple flashlights on the same Bigfoot.
Right.
The one over here on the one side said, hey, there's eye shine over there, it's green. And the one over here said, no, it's blue. And the guy in the middle walked between the two of them and watched the color change as he walked back and forth. It's the angle of the light on the eyes and the color of the light you're shining on them.
That tends to be my theory too. I think it depends on what kind of light, artificial light you're shining at them. Because I've had, you know, like Duke's talking about, people with different flashlights, and they're looking, they see it like, oh, man, look at that, the eyes are this. And somebody, no, they're not. They're this color right here. And maybe it just has to do with the different type of light that we're using. That's about the only theory that I've actually got.
People that have been able to observe them with a flashlight long enough to actually change position away from where the light is, that as if you've even got just one light on them, it's one color light, and you're walking away from them and you're watching their eye shine, the color will change as you're walking away from them. So it has to do with the angle that's reflected off the inside of the eye too.
That's very interesting and stuff, because
when you walk into him, he was not looking directly at me, and he was reflecting kind of a lime green eye shine.
Right.
If he was looking directly at me, it would have been a different color.
Right.
And that's another bad thing too. If they're not looking directly at you as you're walking toward them, it's because they don't want to get your attention by looking directly at you. So that's not a good sign.
Right. The one I saw and stuff, it was big white LED flashlight, square dead on in the face, and the eyes were bright white, but it looked like freaking light bulbs.
Yeah.
They were like light bulbs, but they didn't emit light to the surrounding area like a light bulb would. It was just like, the heck, you know? And it seemed to turn its head down and to the left, but to keep me in its sights. But as it went down, the light, like you said, depending on your angle, it almost looked like a deer's eye shine, almost like that bluish green color.
Yeah.
As it went down. So there's something definitely unique with their eyes, for sure.
Yep. And then the other weird phenomenon that you run into is eye glow, which I used to have doubts about until I found enough researchers that not only vouch for it, some of them have pictures of it. So there is a separate thing called eye glow. And yeah, they don't need a background light source.
Yep.
It can be dead overcast, the blackest night, and there's those two big lights going, and you're like, what in the hell is doing that?
Yeah, that's true, you know, because man, what
like luminescence or something like that.
It's a lot like the IR lights on the game cam giving just enough illumination for the camera.
Mm-hmm.
We saw that.
It's self illumination, giving it just enough like bioluminescence for its eye to work in the dark.
I agree, and our working theory on that right now. I've been talking to Rich Soul about this one a lot, and he does a lot of stuff about car systems and undergrounds and stuff. And we're kind of on the page right now that the ones that spend a bunch of time underground seem to be the ones that can do the eye glow thingy.
Yeah.
And the ones that are above on the surface all the time don't seem to be able to do that. So maybe it's something, like a natural ability they develop for being underground. It provides them just enough light to see the passage they're moving around in. Really, that's all they need.
Yeah.
What's ruined me down here?
I'll be right back, you guys.
Go ahead.
If y'all remember the Fouke monster, everybody thought, oh, you had those big red eyes. Well, then all of a sudden, everything you have Bigfoot with red eyes. And you see somebody that tells you, man, I saw a Bigfoot. Well, and the eyes were glowing white, yellow, or sometimes like talking about the mustard yellow or the green. Oh no, Bigfoot's eyes only glow red. Well, that's not so. I'm like y'all. I think it could have to do with the constriction in their eyes, wherever their temperament. Like Duke said, with blood pressure on something like that, to where there's not as much constriction or more light's being let in, so therefore more reflects off that film membrane back there in the back of their eye. And like I said, it could have something to do with whatever kind of light. Used to everything you saw was a flashlight with those little ever-ready batteries with the Tomcat jumping through the circle, and that's all we have. But now we've got so many good different types of light, man, that just, and that's your best. We've said, I'm not using to say weapon. That's your best defense against a Bigfoot is a good light, because they don't like that light. So
Lewis had a wonderful experience involving a light out in his area. He decided to play with the strobe light, and apparently it didn't.
Oh yeah, they don't like that.
The strobe.
Yeah, it threw something at me.
Ooh,
yeah,
that's not good.
Yeah,
I think it's not like people. It makes it lose its depth perception and lose exactly where you are. They're not a big fan of that. Knowing where you are is extremely important to them all the time.
Hey, good. Let me ask you this, Patrick. When we was in Fouke, when you met up with us, when you come and met me and Scott and Patrick that time, and we was up there doing research on those people's property not too far from Fouke. Good thing you brought this up, Patrick. Thank you. We was walking in the field, and it had this glow in the dark, like goopy looking stuff that was on the ground in several different spots. After we had our encounter that night, when we saw the eye shine, when I saw it, it was amber color. And then when we went around and came through the woods in the same patch of woods, we think the one that came through the woods came this way. And then when Patrick and his other friend that's a tracker saw it, their eyes were red. But then as we was walking back, we saw this glow in the dark. It like I said, it looked like alien poop, It was glowing purple. It was weird.
I haven't been lucky enough to see that yet, but I'll start looking for it, because that's one reason I'm doing podcasts, is to learn. I'll start looking for that, Man, when I see a Bigfoot, my eyes I get such tunnel vision, I forget to look on the ground or in the trees. I'm looking at this thing, and it makes me forget what I need to be looking all the way around. So I'll start having to look for that. Duke, have you ever seen any glowing spots on the ground after somebody's had an encounter?
No. I mean, it sounds like somebody drank some radioactive waste by accident. I don't know.
I was gonna say something else, but it would be good.
I haven't noticed nothing like that, but I think I'm wondering if UV light might help that. They're supposed to have like really oily, greasy hands and stuff like that, and greasy hair and stuff like that. Maybe their feet are the same. Maybe what the oils they leave in their footsteps would glow under a UV light. Just a thought. I'm thinking, right. Since we're on the topic.
Well, I took out some of that fingerprint powder out there that day that I put the donuts out, and the next day I come back, and when the Bigfoot came off that mountain, and then I was sitting there trying to film it, and she told the other one behind me to come up behind me. Then I got kind of scared then, so I took off, and then I went down the road, and the donuts that I put out the night before, I put powder out there, and they ate all the donuts. And then when I went down there with the light, I couldn't see anything. And I had detective powder down there.
Where do you get
the
that
fingerprint
powder stuff at?
And I couldn't find anything.
I know another researcher that gets
got on Amazon
handprints on their window all the time. They need to have some fingerprint powder. Where do you get it from?
Amazon.
Yeah, you get down there and just get the brush. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's expensive. You get a little bitty bottle, or
yeah, when they leave a handprint that's like, that freaking big.
Right.
Why don't you use like a baby powder or something, or baking soda? Would that work?
Because they need.
It's possible because I
told
you
to leave a film after you leave.
I told y'all last time about a story MK Davis had shared with me about whenever he put his finger down inside a footprint that had some kind of oily substance in there, almost like a gelatin substance, and it made him sick. He had a cut on it. It made him sick. That could be some of the same thing that's causing some of that glow, like what you're talking about. The one that put his hand on my windshield, it lasted all night, and then the next morning, as I was driving back to where we're eating breakfast, all of a sudden the handprint just appears on my windshield, just perfect with normal ridges and everything. So it was really, really neat to see that right there. So it could be something other like that, something they have in their, in their body makeup. Could be another one of their dadgum, one of their defense mechanisms, where it may be a turn off to other animals that might be trying to.
I think
this might not be connected, but
there's a lot of reports of them eating with their mouth off of a tree. So, and they usually hardly ever use their hands to eat, hardly ever. I've always heard, and like a lot of reports saying that they when they have a kill, they use their mouth to eat it. They never use their hands. They might carry it in their hands, but usually they see them on all fours eating off the kill, or they're stripping leaves off of a branch with their mouth. They never use their hands.
Like you would see a gorilla, they just put the branch in their mouth, and they call it, what do they call it, stripping the limb or something like that. And they just
Arkansas
they just run down the branch and pulls all the leaves off. I've heard several encounters of people seeing that.
Another thing I noticed that, like apes, they capitalize on people with handicaps. And I'm kind of wondering with the same thing, because you were on the show, William, with Finding Bigfoot.
Yes.
Well, the episode from Colorado, they had that lady with the she was kind of blind, and she picked up on things that normally we wouldn't pick up on, like the popping sounds. She was sitting there going, make any clicking sounds that like the sounds that I got on my recording, and then they capitalized on her. They threw rocks only at her because they figured out she had a handicap. Just like apes do, they throw rocks and they hit them and they do things to these little monkeys, and then they capitalize on them. I'm wondering if Bigfoots do the same thing.
I believe it's completely possible. I mean, animals have been known to go for the sick and the injured in the back of the pack, while hunting. That's a typical, that's a scientific fact, you know what I mean? But obviously if she's doing the clicking, that's called echolocation, and that is actually taught to people who are blind, and they can act just like bats. They can paint a picture in their head of what's around them just by the echoes coming back. So that goes to show that humans can adapt to their scenarios.
Yeah.
But in it also, my cousin is deaf, but his sight and his his taste are like through the roof. You know what I mean? He could see. His sight is absolutely freaking incredible. It's unbelievable what he can see, and you lose one sense, and that sense just goes into all the other senses and just heightens everything. So,
yep.
I mean, maybe they can pick up on that. You know what I mean? But obviously, the clicking was a definite signal to them that there's something not right with that one. you know?
Y'all, if y'all remember that.
Well, I think she's just picking up on things.
And tend to, when somebody loses one sense, they gain another, just like you said there. Y'all remember That's Incredible years ago, that show that came on there. They had the boy there that was blind, and he could ride a bicycle with echolocation.
Right. Yeah, with the clicking. They showed him riding their mountain bike off-road.
Exactly.
I mean, and with nothing but bushes, not hard surfaces, but bushes, and he did just fine.
So that may be something. That may
he wasn't making any freaking land speed records downhill, but he got from point A to point B blind without falling, you know?
And I would tend to wonder if Bigfoot tends to use that same kind of noise sometimes. A stick or a rock is not always handy. And then, we'll, knock, and all of a sudden one will knock back. Is that something that they can do by using their mouths, as opposed to what we, like we would do there? So it's just really interesting. Like I said, that
my recording is what I'm hearing is like, it sounds like pop rocks is what I hear on my recording.
Right.
Which is really weird.
If you guys want to hear a lot more of that, there's a channel called Bigfoot Anthropologist, and he takes audio recordings and pulls all those clicks out of the background.
Wow.
They're doing
Really?
that all the time.
Yeah. Bigfoot Anthropologist is awesome. He's an honest guy.
He's a really too.
Yeah. He's really honest. He's
I'll put
pretty
that
amazing in what he does.
Science proves the validity of Bigfoot. Science has proved that. Me and my son is a dentist, and it was raining here one day, so we recorded the Patterson-Gimlin film there after they had done the improved photographs, and then we blew it up on the big screen TV, and then we would stop and then put it in slow motion. And with him being a dentist, he goes, "Dad, every mouth muscle that is supposed to move when he opens his mouth or he makes a face is moving." He said, "That's a real video." And he said, "There's no way," because back then, go back and look at the old Beverly Hillbillies show of, quote, Herbie, whenever they have the gorilla, and look at the difference between the way Herbie's face or those Three Stooges, how the muscles don't react in there, then look at the Gimlin film there. So again, like I said, science proves the existence of Bigfoot. The teeth I showed with Duke there on his show with the 4 teeth right here, and then the space, and then a primate space. Well, that's exactly the same tooth pattern as what most of the apes have. So again, like I said, one of their species at least has some characteristics that it shares with the ape species. So science is going to prove that Bigfoot is real. It's not the other way around. People don't want to accept eyewitnesses or anything else like that, but science is going to prove, and does so far. So far, it hasn't contradicted itself on that at all.
Yeah, I definitely think that science has
tried to eat your game cam, William. That's
the only thing I can say about this. I don't know if he was mad at it.
How was that?
Yeah, he throws my game camera. He bites my game camera, and that's the honest truth. At least, like Chrissy did, just once a week. I mean, he'll take it and he'll bite it and he'll throw it. And I've got several pictures of him with teeth. I've got thumbs. I've got fingers where he's throwing it and stuff. So it recognizes that it doesn't recognize it takes pictures, but it recognizes something different, and it puts out the light. And I think the light is basically the catalyst that, because you can see it, all of a sudden, and you can see almost like a look of surprise on its face, like, how did you get me in this? The next video I'll find, or next picture I'll find on this game card will be either an eyeball looking to the brush top, or else a hand reaching out to get it, like what I have shared. So it's really
I got to agree about the whole. They know what a game camera is. They don't know exactly what it does, but they know that it's something that we use to catch things in the light and everything. Because up in northern Idaho, I had a bunch of running back and forth on one. We're kind of in a little gully, so we got hillsides on both sides of us. Left side one night, put out a game cam, bunch of apples. The next night, all the action's on the right side. So I grabbed the apples, I put the game cam over on the right side, nope, on the left side, and went back and forth like that for 5 days before I finally just took the camera down, threw it in the air, said, "There's your apples, I'm out." This ain't working. So, I mean, they know what they are. And I mean, Lewis can attest to their strength. I mean, he had one like one of those nylon straps literally broken in like 3 pieces. you know, really torn right off a tree, and he actually took that strap and went to a place that deals
It
with
wasn't
them.
on the tree.
What was it?
It was
When
on
your
the
camera
ground,
got ripped off?
tied in a knot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
They
on.
picked it up off the ground and went. That was it.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't on a tree; it was sitting on the ground.
Yeah.
But
Pretty strong.
in any case, what was the rating of that strap?
It was. I think it was the maximum 1,200, but it was rated as 1,000.
1,200 foot-pounds of pressure
Oh.
to break that strap,
And there was
and
two.
it was
He just broke both of them at the same time.
so double that. That shows the immense
half.
strength that they have. You know.
Well, not only that, not
Yeah.
to change the subject a little bit, but Duke has some awesome pictures of big structures. And I'm talking about massive trees.
His blow mine away as far as for size, man. I was so
Yes.
I felt so looking at my stuff, and man, I've got some great structures. They build it with intellect, design. But man, when I looked at his, I'm like, shoot, man, I've got babies down here compared to what you've got.
I got freaking matchsticks. What you talking about?
Yeah, when you find like a 6-story tall X structure and you're standing underneath it looking at it, you're like, I don't want to meet what made this. I don't
Well, I'm going to try to talk Duke into doing is doing a show of his 100 best pictures, and just not without it with the gas or anything else like that, but get him to just do his 100 best pictures and narrate himself. And I think it would just blow us away, especially up there in Montana when those trees are so big. All the animals that they eat. Ours down here are mean, but they don't tend to weigh 1,000 pounds. His, everything they eat up there tend to be. So I would love to, and that's one thing I'm gonna try to talk him into doing is to posting those pictures, his 100 best pictures, and giving us some narration on that. Because when you look at his, I said mine are good, but man, they're nothing compared to what he's got. Size, oh yeah, they're just. You realize how insignificant you are, compared to those things. And like this year when I found the 22-inch tracks, man, they blew my mind. I realized, hey, I'm dealing with the wrong animal right here for a little guy at 6'2".
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing what he's got. I'm telling you.
When you get those 40, 50, 60 foot tall X's, that's an absolute show of strength.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no way a human's going to do that unless they have chains and heavy equipment. There's no way it's going to happen.
And not only that, he's got other structures too. It's not just X's. He's got TPs and all kind of good stuff.
When you get into a 22-inch footprint, it's like, yeah, we call him Bigfoot. But when you look at the 22-inch Bigfoot print, and then you look at the being that made it, they're perfectly proportioned. So I don't know why we still call him Bigfoot, but I mean, is for their height and weight and everything. I mean, their footprints are completely proportionate. So.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I want to show Duke my footprint. This was the one I found with the tracker that's in here, Patrick. We found this by a pond, and we did an experiment. Sound light, not too far from there, and this is the footprint that I found.
Nice.
Yeah, very nice. Again, they always travel the creeks. There's an example right there of what Christy has in her hand there.
You're just talking.
Yeah, I like the side profile of that particular print because it shows the clear mid-tarsal break. You know what I mean? And it's been proven that with the mid-tarsal break, when a human walks on their feet without it, you get heel thunk and then you get a slap on the toes. You know what I mean? Mid-tarsal break, it's just a nice quiet roll. So they're able to walk through all this stuff just by rolling their foot, which automatically makes their footstep a lot quieter unless they're running. Then you just get the physical weight, thump, 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 thump. Yeah,
well, we measured these footprints were 14 inches, so that had to be a young juvenile or something,
7-8 foot, yeah.
Lewis, Lori said, go ahead and tell them about hers if you want to.
Wait, what is he
Yeah,
doing?
Tell her
I wanna
about
chime
what?
in for a second here. I know William was just bragging up all my tree structures and stuff, but William is the king of game cam. He is the king of game cam pictures. No Bigfoot researcher gets more good kick-ass game cam pictures than William. And I want to brag up his favorite one of mine right now. And this is like, no one will ever duplicate this picture. Okay, you want to see the inside of a Bigfoot's mouth? Oh no, it's even better. He put the whole frickin' game cam in his mouth, and it's pointing out, and he's getting a picture of another Bigfoot's eye shine in the background.
Exactly.
Game cam inside his mouth. Okay, let's see someone else duplicate that one.
Yeah, and you can.
That is something like if I found a game cam out in the woods, I would mess with it. I would play with. I wouldn't take it, but I would mess with it and give them some funky
Think
pictures.
about how
Like,
big his
hey, you
mouth
know,
is, though. He's got
do
the
some
whole
funky
thing in his
poses.
mouth.
That's what they're doing. They're playing with it. You know what I mean? They know it's yours. They know
He's
what
like,
it
hey, Marty, get in front of me. I want to get your picture.
right. Right. Let me put it in my mouth and then take a picture of you. You know. I mean,
And that's what's really cool because I don't know if they're tasting it. You know, a lot of animals just taste it to see what kind of taste it has. But I know he's truly trying to discover it. But he's got, like I said, in his mouth, and then you see the two orange eyes look just like the Mayaca skunk ape back there. You can see them just perfectly. I mean, and that's what it is. I've got another picture of him later on with the Bigfoot standing back there. You're going to recognize the silhouette as the Patty silhouette. It's just the same time at the same one.
Maybe it's a couple of redneck Sasquatch. Hey, buddy, hold my beer. Look what I can do.
Yeah.
You know,
That was a very polite Bigfoot, too. He spit the camera back out again. It didn't make you dig out of a steaming pile of crap the next day.
You know, he is, and that's true, and he could have. But it's neat because when I finally started noticing it, I would go, and my camera would just be turned a few degrees off, and I finally told my partner, I said, he's picking up my camera. So I would start putting wherever the lens was, if the lens was facing, let me get here, facing this way, then I would put something else right on top to where it was pointing, and I would come back and my lens would be shuffled 5 degrees, you know. And I'm like, oh man, you know, he's actually, and I knew then he was. Had I known when, I would have had blasted DNA evidence because he had it in his mouth. But you know, you don't know when, and that's kind of the cry of the deal. You can screw up more things by accident that you can get on purpose, you know, and that's the way it is with Bigfoot.
You know, I mean, there's that theory that they know about trail cameras. They know what they do and they know how they work. There's a lot of stuff a lot of videos out there where they come up behind the camera and mess with it. You know what I mean? I got the wise idea of getting a 360 game cam, which has sensors in a 360 circle. So whatever sensor gets triggered, camera flips around, starts recording. Well, needless to say, I never got that camera back.
No.
So
interesting thing happened about 2 months ago when we were camping. We were aware they were coming into camp every night after we go to sleep. So we took a teeny little audio recorder, turned it on, and we put it in the cup holder on one of the folding chairs. Okay. And we got about an hour of them walking around camp, making noise and moving things around. The most interesting part of it is where you can hear one of them walked up to the chair and apparently tapped it with their finger. Yeah. Like you can hear the mic on it tap. They reached into the cup holder and tapped the damn thing. You know, like that's how observant they are.
Or come in and kick your blow up mattress, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the same thickness as the bottom of the tent. So they just walked by the tent and booted the bottom of the tent, slid the whole mattress with me on it about 4 inches.
Gee Louise.
They're trying to wake me up. They were about to mess with somebody else in the camp, and apparently they thought it was so hilarious I shouldn't miss it. So
yeah, they wanted an audience with what they're about.
Pretty much,
Yeah.
And it was hilarious.
Get out of bed.
and we're out here. Time to come play. Everybody get up now. You know
well, what they did is they went over to his tent. He was still sleeping, and they were so heavy. He was on a ground pad. He wasn't on an air mattress, and he actually felt the ground shake, and it woke him up. And then the next thing he heard was this weird noise right outside of his tent. noise. And he realized after a couple of minutes of it, one of them had grabbed an empty plastic water bottle from the front of his tent, and they were holding it right next to the tent, squeezing it back and forth. And he finally went, knock it off, I'm trying to go to sleep. And that was the end of the noise. And then, of course, I got up and went, what's going on? And he told me, and we both started laughing. I'm sure the Bigfoot were just a ways off in the woods snickering too. They probably thought it was pretty funny. Well,
running back to their buddies. Dude, did you see that? That was so funny.
Those humans, did you see that?
Us being their amusement, I fish this bass tournament every year, and every year there's about 5,000 or 6,000 people fish it. So if you're not there at 3 o'clock in the morning to put your boat in, you're going to park about 1.5 miles away. So I go to this real secluded ramp, and I go to back down my truck. Well, there's these people sitting there, and they're sitting around a fire. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, oh, man, I don't know how this is going to work out, So I get my pistol, and unsnap the deal just in case, go unload my boat and come back, and walked up, and everybody was looking at me. And so, naturally kind of just break the ice. I said, wow. I said, you guys are up early. And they said, no, we're actually up late. So we've had something here walking around our camp, throwing sticks, breaking logs, and growling and grunting at us. And I said, all night? They said, yeah, all night. And said, we're afraid that if we leave one of them there to have the camp watch duty, that he'll fall asleep and the thing will come in on us. So this is 3 o'clock in the morning. So again, we're there entertainment. We're on Bigfoot time. Your watch ought to have a big B on the side. Say, yeah, this is it for now. Now this is Bigfoot time. And so it's really, but when they want you to pay attention, you're not going to sleep. Like when they kick Duke's tent, it's like, yeah, you're going to watch this, and we're all going to get a big kick out of it.
Yeah. I've said that for years. Daytime is our time.
Yep.
Nighttime is their time, and I make it a point to try not to go out at night. But some circumstances, it's just too good not to go out at night. You know what I mean?
That's the best time. What are you talking about?
That's when they're got the advantage. I have a lot of people ask me as a researcher, they say, well, man, how come you go out at night? Because you had a lot of your sightings in the daytime. A lot of that is the reason because what Bigfoot eats is out at night. They're going to go where the food is. I mean, it's not just a case they're necessarily nocturnal. Yep. They're opportunistic, as we said earlier, wherever they want. But when most of their food they're eating on is out at night, they're going to be out at night rather than in the daytime. And so that's why you've got, if you did a comparative ratio of how many sightings you've seen in the daylight and the dark, I said there's a whole lot of them seen in the daylight because more people are out. Not very many people are crazy enough like me to go out at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning all night long with a light sitting there looking for Bigfoot. So that's why there's a lot of sightings at night, because even though there's not as many people out, what they're going to eat is, and they're going to follow their food stuff.
Yep, they move around at night.
Yep.
Hey, I got one going back to what we were talking about earlier with greasy stuff in the bottom of their tracks. There's an old legend from the Northeast about the Wendigo.
Yeah.
It claims that Wendigo tracks always have a blood spot in the bottom of them. As a matter of fact, there was a very enterprising Irish fur trapper who decided to scare all of the easily terrified by supernatural stories French fur trappers in his area. And he covered his snowshoes with fur, and then he walked around through their area and he left a little drop of blood in each track and scared the hell out of them. None of them would go into the valley he was tracking in after that. They thought there was a Wendigo there. But who knows where this came from originally, because he was already pranking the French fur trappers 300 years ago, right? So the idea must have been around before then. But where did they get this weird idea that big Wendigo tracks would have this little drop of blood in one of them?
Right. That's crazy.
I used to make fun of people that had Bigfoot, say they seen Bigfoot. One of my friends, his aunt was actually one of the ones to see the very first Bigfoot down here at Boggy Creek. And I used to kid with him a little bit, and he was real good natured. I said, well, your aunt still seeing Bigfoots? And we'd laugh and everything. But man, all of a sudden, when you see one, you get your reference and you realize, hey, those who laugh last laugh best. And it's not necessarily a laughing matter, So when you see one like Duke's talking about, all of a sudden you come up there and you live the legend in your own eyesight. It makes a big difference in how you look at things. It changed the way I looked at the whole world, folks. I promise you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Scares you.
like a Pandora's box. Once that box is open,
Yep.
there's more to come.
That's a
Believe
Scared straight.
that. Nah, you too scary. I was all up in I wasn't scared. I was all up in those woods with the flashlight, everything. I had about 10 flashlights on me. I had my gun, I had my knives. I was ready.
Well, they call it
Man, I used
caribou.
to go out there by
morning.
myself at night.
Well, I wouldn't go by myself,
Okay.
but yeah, I'd have people with me. You know, that's the more intelligent thing to do.
I tend to
Well,
believe
you'll
this-
all die. All you're going to be doing is just watching the other person die before you do. That's all you're doing. You're not going to live because you have with other people.
Nah, it ain't
You're going to
gonna
watch
happen.
them die, then
You
say,
gotta
"Oh
bring
my
a
gosh,
couple
I'm going to
people
die
with
just
you
like
that
that."
can't run as fast as you can. That's the way to do it.
You know what's funny
Yeah.
is you know, people give me a lot of crap for going out by myself, and it's like, what's wrong with going out by myself? That's the best way to have an experience, right?
Yep.
So it's like, dude, I've been out there so many times. If they wanted to kill me, they would have done it a long freaking time ago. You know what I mean? So obviously, I'm entertainment to them that they can get a little closer to, you know, and they want to keep doing that. So, you know, I mean, all these missing people and this missing 411, I definitely think it's not Bigfoot doing it. You know, there's something out there going on. You know what I mean? So,
Nope.
you know,
There's plenty of other suspects besides Bigfoot. You don't need to blame everything on him.
I definitely think Bigfoot takes the rap for a lot of it. Yeah, Bigfoot gets the blame for a lot of it. So,
Yeah, he's just the easy one to blame.
right.
Yeah.
Right. He's the one with the most evidence on him. You know what I mean?
We
So,
remember the story from 6 months ago, the little boy and the bear that said the big bear came out and took care of me where I was lost.
yeah.
If that
Oh,
was
yeah.
the bear, it would have took care of him all right. He
Yeah,
would.
what was he, a 4-year-old boy?
Something like
Spent what, like 4 or 5 days out in the woods, and it got down. I mean, the temperatures dropped. Yeah, a big bear took care of me. Yeah, the big bear carried me and put me literally in my aunt's bush right behind her house. Huh? Interesting. Yeah. In a bush so big that a person could not set the boy in. Yeah.
A magic
Uh-huh.
angel bear with a halo.
Yeah, that's kind of that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And of course, those of us who know, like I said, if they were going to kill me, as a rule, I think they would, unless you meet a rogue. You know, and there are rogues out there, those young males and everything else. We know what testosterone does to them. But as a rule, you know, one of the best ways is to go by yourself, or if you take somebody, take a female. You know, we've discussed that before. Take a look at Chrissy, the amount of sightings that she has. Every time I take a female with me, as a rule, of course, like I said, I have an area that has a lot of Bigfoot in it, but I'll have some kind of sighting, some kind of encounter. They'll scream, they'll throw rocks, they'll knock. I mean, they'll just do, you know, just about anything, but they want your attention, just like us guys do for the females. They want to vie for their attention the same way.
Yep.
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 I like when they throw the pebbles at you. I think that is so funny. That's happened to me twice. It doesn't hit you. It comes on the side of you. Bing. Bing. You're like, hey, come over here.
You know what's funny? It's like I never, growing up, I mean, I spent years and years and years, many hours out camping in these wilderness areas and stuff like that, and never even had a single thought of Bigfoot, never even crossed my mind. And now that I'm all into the subject and I'm learning and all this stuff, it's like all these memories are coming back going, hey, that time I was peeing against a tree and that rock hit me in the foot. You know, really makes you wonder. You know what I mean?
He's always the suspect for everything. Don't blame Bigfoot. There's a lot of other things out there that could be. Don't blame him for throwing rocks at you.
All right.
Hey, if you said it. I think 411 is a lot to do with Bigfoots because I ran out of suspects. I don't know anything else that's out there besides dogmen. Well, I don't know about Martians and aliens and stuff, but I think a lot of that has something to do with Bigfoot. It's not that I hate Bigfoot, I'm blaming everything on Bigfoot, but I kind of run out of suspects, you know?
I don't think it has so much to
Because
do with
some people,
suspects, or it has
well,
a
some
whole
people
lot
have a lot to
with-
do with, like, a little child is sitting there and they find her 10 miles away next to a creek. And then over hills, not linear, but up and down in a storm, and she's not even wet.
Yep.
I'm thinking that the Bigfoot probably cupped her, took her out there, and then they found her later. And they said, oh, a big bear. Well, I was laying with a big bear, you know, underneath a big bear. But a big bear is not going to carry her out there, and she's still dry, you know. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't really believe in aliens too much, but because I don't see them all the time. I don't see the footprints. I don't see.
If the magic bear that was actually obviously a Bigfoot took that kid, why would he bring him back? How
Yeah.
many times have we seen Bigfoot?
No,
bring
she never brought it back. Never brought him back. She was still out there.
Well,
Well, there was also a
And-
dog man that took a little girl and took her into the forest. And then what happened was there was another dog, a female dogman inside the forest that saw him with the baby, the little girl. And then the dogman, the female got really mad at the male and made the male take the girl back. You know, so I mean, and then that was like pretty far distance from where they found her, but they made her take her back.
Yeah,
And
or some other cryptid.
she was a witness to that.
The Bigfoot having enough sense to go, there's going to be a massive search here for this frickin' kid, and we don't want lots of humans swarming our woods. Bring the damn kid back.
well, you know, I've also heard.
I don't know.
One of my favorite suspects for
I
missing.
don't know. It was a dogman. I don't know.
One of my favorite suspects for missing person cases is a phenomenon worldwide called little people. And there have been reports of them stealing humans for hundreds of years. So it's not any frickin' thing new. There's little people everywhere. We have more evidence for little people than we do for frickin' Bigfoot. Okay? We know they're all over the damn place. As a matter of fact, one of my guests that was on from Alaska is tracking down a report from somebody that lives in the same area as him, who was out snowmobiling and found a little kid floating down the river on an ice floe. Rescued the kid. The kid couldn't hardly talk. He was in shock. Brought him back to where he said his grandma's house was. And the kid, as it turned out, had been missing for 3 days. Now, after he calmed down, the grandma talked to him. It turned out that he had been kidnapped by little people, taken underground for a couple days, harassed a lot, asked lots of questions. And then they decided they were going to let him go. And the next thing he knows, he's on an ice floe drifting down a frickin' river in Alaska.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there's plenty of other suspects out there. Don't forget about the rake. Don't forget about those little.
Well,
gray
not that I witnessed, you know.
Yeah, but they got the gugwees.
Seen them.
Gugwees.
Yeah, gugwees too.
Gugwees. They're out there. He's got a picture. William's got a picture of one.
Yeah. I did. I got that, and I watched him, and it shook my whole world because it was not like the Bigfoot I had seen. I mean, it was a whole total different experience with this thing. And when he sat up behind this log and sitting there looking at me, like I said, he turned his head, and the ears, you can see the ears moving just a little bit and looking back, you know, and he's tilting his head like he's looking at another animal. Like I said, and I was able to get 3 pictures, and then I took off running. I haven't run from Bigfoot since 1977, but I did this time. It shook my world the way that I understood things, and even the way that I understood Bigfoot. I said, Nick could run on all fours just like Bigfoot could. It was hauling behind. But man, where that dude set up, you could tell that you seemed like the feeling you get was the intent was not like it was with Bigfoot to watch you and then take off. The intent was, you know, sneak on down here, little boy, and I'd like to have you for supper, you know, for supper instead of, you know, you being the guest, you being the main dish. So I have seen that. And man, it blew my mind. It changed. I wanted to go back. I called my buddy. I wanted to go back. He wanted to go back the next day. I said, man, you got to give me time, man. I said, I'm having post-traumatic stress. I said, I just ain't ready to see that just yet. And I only had a 40 caliber Glock. Well, then whenever I went back, I had a 45-70 rifle, and I felt a little bit better than what I did. So, but you know, on those things right there with these animals too, people are the world's worst to let their kids to not pay attention to their kids when they're in the woods, and then the kids wander off. And of course, we know, like I said, Bigfoot is watching us when we're out there. That they may have, picked up with the kid to basically, save the kid. And mom and dad are basically doing their thing, or grandma's doing their thing. The kid wanders off, and they ain't got a clue till 5 or 6 hours later. Then they end up basically, quote, cleaning up our mess, watching after the kid for something that we were supposed to do. It's really weird. You like the Cowman of Copless Beach there. It could be like that, where they've lost an infant or something like that, and they develop an attraction to one of these young people or something other like that. And so we just don't know yet, but we know that their feelings for us, if we doubt their feelings for us as humans, take a look read the stories of all the times when the children have fell into the zoo, into the gorilla pit and stuff like that, and how the gorilla goes, either the male or even the female or the male goes over and protects these kids. So we know that they have a recognition of a kinship to us, and I use that loosely. Like I said, there are people, they're not Homo sapiens, but they're their own people. Like I said, I joke with Duke, they're Homo sapiens, instead of Homo sapiens, but they have a kinship with us that they tend to look after us in that way. And I think those kids get lost at missing 411. And then if the one is the Bigfoot, it's not necessarily based on the Bigfoot stealing the kids. It's based on the fact that the adult wasn't doing his job and watching the kid. Then the Bigfoot wanders off, and then so.
What about
Right.
the?
Yeah, that is true.
When I was doing my show, we were showing other pictures that William had gotten. Here's a perfect example. Bigfoot are gigantic, and they're still sneaky. They can sneak up on us. How sneaky do you think the little people are? William has a picture of one standing right frickin' next to him, and they didn't know it was there.
And that's the truth. I'm 6'2", and I was about 280. Yeah, my buddy's like 6'3.5", and he's about 330, and he's not fat. He's a big man, just a big muscled up man. We're standing there, and we missed the whole thing. And my wife, we're looking at the picture of the Bigfoot, and my wife goes, "Well, what is this thing right here?" I said, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "This thing right here." I looked at it, I said, "I have no idea. That wasn't there when we were sitting there." Well, she showed it to my buddy Steven. Steven goes, "I don't know." He said, "That wasn't there while we were there." Yeah, it was. It's sitting right there by the tree. And then it moves away from the tree, and you see it away from the tree in the photograph, on the game cam photograph, and then you see it later on, and it moves right back. So there's things that the Hawaiians. I've been to Hawaii twice, and they have what's called the Menehune. And they're supposed to be
the Menehune.
Yeah, supposed to be like little practical jokers, but can they do stuff like that? The Hawaiian people swear by them. I don't think the Hawaiian people are all idiots. All you're all
the Minihunas.
Yeah, exactly.
I never
The
heard of
Minihunas,
that.
right? Like those ones. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's actually a video of a dirt biker riding a dirt bike.
I heard of those. I heard of those
Hawaii,
there, but I didn't know we
and
had them
that
here.
one that runs next to it with a stick in its hand and bails off into the. I mean, the dirt biker literally dropped his bike and was like, "I don't know what that was," and his buddy took off after it, and you could see where it took off into the bushes. But I mean, these weeds were 5-6 feet tall, you know what I mean?
Really?
But you clearly see a path where it came off the trail and
Oh, is that when it jumped in front of the guy on a bicycle?
on a motorcycle.
Not a motorcycle. There was dirt bikers. It was in Indonesia.
Dirt bikers.
We showed that video.
Yeah.
The last time I did a show on little people, we showed that video clip.
And yeah, that little
400 or 500.
that's a dirt
videos
bike
on it.
with
All just
experienced
dirt
riders.
biking.
That little guy was moving.
They're just dirt biking around different areas in Indonesia. They got like 400 or 500 videos on their channel, and none of them have
Yeah.
anything to do with cryptids except that one weird video. So they're just
Right.
biking along, and all of a sudden this little naked guy comes running out, about 3 feet tall, beats ass down the road in front of him, and the guy on the
Yeah.
bike with the camera follows him and films him
Right.
until he gets into the woods again.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
That
don't
little-
make it in front of me
that little guy
because I'm little
Falling
people.
butt. I ride a dirt bike, and I know how fast they can go, and I know how fast you can get them going.
Homo flores and Homo luzon, same part of the world where they found the little people skeletons. So
Yeah.
like
Right.
surprise, they're still there.
Homo
Oh,
floresiensis.
surprise.
Yeah. Right.
That definitely exists, because like I said, I can't see it. I'm standing right there by it. Stephen Hill cannot see it. He's standing right there by it. Neither one of us, have been committed to an insane asylum, use drugs or alcohol, and we're seeing these things right there next to us, and we can't see it. We're seeing it on the photographic evidence. So they are there. If somebody would have told me back in 1976 and 11 months before I saw my first Bigfoot in 1977 that I was going to see a Bigfoot, I'd have laughed him to scorn and punched him in the nose and said, "Man, you're crazy." You know,
You're nuts.
yeah, I get my comeuppance, and all of a sudden here I am sitting there looking at Bigfoot 45 yards away with nothing between us but air. Man, things can change. Now, hey, don't ever say never, because there's things that we just don't understand.
No.
And that's
I exist.
There's a lot more to this world than what people think there is.
And that's why I'm staying with Bigfoot. I ain't smart enough to hold the daggum grooves in my brain to hold all these other animals. But studying Bigfoot is one thing, but these other things they're there, folks. We're just, you look at the number of people that are seeing these things. I've got pictures of them on my game cam, and I'm not gonna get into this other mess that's gonna sound crazy, but I've got pictures of stuff. If it's a Bigfoot, he has a birth defect. Because man, they are some real strange looking Bigfoot. And I'm looking at them, and even one of them, man, you know, the ears is different, the snout is different, the teeth are different, and man, just like what Chrissy just did right there. And you're looking at it, you're like, I got one from 3 foot tall or 3 foot away that throws my game cam. And then the first picture I get, he's bent over my game cam. You see the teeth coming out of the bottom, and he's sitting there staring at it. I mean, and there's no denying it. I showed it to over 80 people last weekend down there at the Halloween. Man, every one of them's like, "Oh, I hope I don't run into that thing." Well, man, that makes one more of us, you know.
Yeah, I hope the ones that I see look exactly like this.
Plasticky.
Yeah, the classic patty.
Plastic, yeah.
Not something that's like, you know.
And if somebody doesn't believe that, they're welcome to text me on Facebook or whatever, and I'll send them that picture, because it's enough to. I got it in the cam, and I also got it on a 4x6. I haven't 8x10 it yet, but man, when you look at the thing, it'll just flat scare you. You realize, man, like I said, you go. I'm just hoping that guy's there to protect me whenever I see these other things. So again, I'm not being all kinds of creepy. It's just there's a lot. We think that we know everything, but every year there's 15,000 new animals or 15,000 new species found every year. Everybody thinks it's just like 100. No, it's 15,000 new species every year. So we can't close our eyes to what we have, to what's out there, because it's definitely being discovered. And
Oh yeah.
I remember the daggum giant squid, and I used to watch this show, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. Man, my mama couldn't even get me into the bathtub that night after I watched it.
You know what? You know, Attack of the Tomatoes is what did it for me. The movie Attack of the I wouldn't touch a tomato till I was probably 27, 28 years old. I mean, I was done with tomatoes after that. Or The Blob. The Blob did it for me too. You know what I mean?
The fog. You remember the fog?
Yeah.
The Fly.
It sounds silly, but remember, like the billy ape. The billy ape was one of the last species of ape to be discovered. Man, it makes nests and it kills lions with its bare hands, 6 foot tall.
Right.
They told that story for years, and all of a sudden they finally get it.
300 pounds.
And I believe the billy ape is the closest of the primate species to humans.
And you look at the mountain gorilla, how long it took for them to classify the mountain gorilla. How long was a coelacanth supposed to have been dead before they catch one in the net?
Right.
We know so much. Man, then we find out just how little we have. Well, that's the exception to the rule. Man, it takes one statistic to be an exception to the rule. All these people who say, well, man, all these people are lying about Bigfoot. If there's one person out there, you take me and all you guys out of the equation. You take one person out there that says they've seen Bigfoot and they're telling the truth, that means there is a creature out there. And the chances of that not being possible is impossible.
No, it's like megalodon.
This is the first time I ever heard about little people.
People are getting photographic evidence of these giant sharks everywhere. I mean, they found a tooth, I think, somewhere, and it turned out, it was less than 100 years old.
Wow.
You know, and this tooth was 7 inches long. You know what I mean?
Finding teeth in the Mississippi River.
The thing about it is that we know more about our damn moon than we do our own oceans and our own forests in our own world. You know what I mean? So
Y'all, I feel left out. Y'all all got your own plastic Bigfoot, and I don't, man.
I don't have one.
You got Oscar. You can pick up
Mike's
Oscar.
holding a stick.
I take that back. My sister gave me the other day. She was out shopping, and I've taken actually took her down. She had her first Bigfoot sighting, and so did her daughter. And so she found me. I don't know if y'all can see this or not. Let me get back here where it is. There.
Oh, you got an ornament.
You got an ornament with a Bigfoot on it. So,
Oh, how cool.
So anyway, if I don't put up a Christmas tree
That's
this
cool.
year, I'm put a little cup holder on my bureau and show that movie right there. But man, so that's the closest thing I've got right there. But I love it, man. You know, and so when you've got people
That's
that know your
cool.
character, that know you're not telling a story, you know, that means a whole lot as well. And that's one thing coming from, you know, people from your own family. You know, they're the ones that know you best, and for them to vouch for your character. So.
So you got
Well,
the Yeti.
You got to get a plastic Bigfoot. You can't be a professional Bigfoot researcher with a plastic Bigfoot.
I've got 30 different big shirts. Everyone jokes with me about, say, man, where's your black hat? You know, like what Lyle or King Gerhard will have. You know, well, my MO is a daggum Harry and the Henderson t-shirt, because if you notice, there's a certain lookalike to Harry and the Hendersons when I, you know, pull off my hat, and so, so I take that all the time. You know? We like if I'm gonna look like a movie star, I just as soon look like Harry as anybody. There you go. So, yeah, it is. It's like I said, it's something that we joke right now, but all five of us are very serious about what we do, man, about Bigfoot. Like I said, folks, they're real. I mean, they are real. And I'm not sitting there telling you that because I want some kind of attention. I said, I don't have my own YouTube channel. I'm not monetized in any way. What I'm here for is to tell you the truth that Bigfoot are out there. And if you keep your eyes open and keep your ears open, you'll hear a story from somebody. I was a UPS man 35 years, and I interviewed a lot of people. You hear a bunch of stories from people, and every now and then you get that story from somebody. You can't impeach their credibility. You can't impeach their character. They'll be vouched for by everybody in the community, and they'll say, man, well, let me tell you what happened to me. Then you get this Bigfoot story, and you can't dismiss that. You know, there's no, they're not wanting, they don't want the publicity. All they want to do is to get it off their chest to where somebody is going to believe them. And that means a lot to them. That's a lot of what these support groups are. I say support groups, these Bigfoot websites we have that basically, things like a support group, you know. That's one thing we don't take advantage of as much as we should, is whenever we have these databases. And if you enjoy learning about Bigfoot, you can spend 20 minutes a night in there looking at the databases from the different research, and man, you can learn a lot about Bigfoot. Some of them, you know, you may want to discount, but you're going to have another. If you'll start seeing certain parallels of certain things that you can classify as, quote, classic Sasquatch behavior, or you're going to see certain parallels that happen in things in your area. And you're like, well, man, that same thing happened to me. And then when you do, you're going to realize, and then that's whenever you start. You may not be any closer to getting an actual sighting, but if you got the Bigfoot in your area, you're going to be a whole lot more prepared to search and to see one of these things than you are just staring blindly out there through a field and say, well, please route and run out in front of here so I can see you. That's not what's going to happen. But doing these other things, taking advantage of those things will.
Yep.
Well, you know, there's always
that's the first time I ever
saying.
heard about little people in the United States. I thought they were only in Hawaii.
It's crazy.
First time I ever heard about that.
I'm not very good with the computer, Duke will tell you that. If you'll send me your cell phone address, I will flat send that picture to you and show it to you. It's crazy.
I can send them your number.
Okay, you can do it.
Yeah, I
You
want
want
to
me to
see
do
it.
that?
Yeah, I want to. Yeah.
I've had a
see it,
saying for a long time, and I think it not only does it apply to Bigfoot, but I think it applies to Dogman and Wendigo and Gugly and little people, is they can be anywhere, anytime that they want to.
That's true.
Yep.
So, you know,
And
take it for what it is, but I think it applies to everything across the board, which in my mind leads to kind of a quantum theory. You know what I mean? And I'm not the only one that thinks that way. I mean, I've heard stories of hunters walking down a fire road, an old road. I mean, we're talking 12, 15 feet wide, a driving car road, walking down with this rifle after hunting, takes a step and his foot disappears. He pulls his foot back and goes, "What the heck?" Sticks his foot back in and disappears.
Okay, Lori.
He takes a step back and he starts looking at it, and it looks shimmery, like almost a wall, like all the stuff behind it is being blurred.
Portal.
You know, yeah, there's a lot more to this world than what people think there is.
You guys both say
You know
it.
what I mean?
And that's one I haven't experienced yet, but not to say that it doesn't happen. But all I can say is I just haven't experienced it yet. But I'm keeping an open mind to it. I'm not going to sit there and call somebody who's a liar who has said it's happened to them, because there's 200 or 300 more people on the internet that you see that are saying the same thing, have the very same thing. So like I said, all I know, I just haven't experienced it yet. It may not be available in my quote available unquote in my area.
Right. It hasn't hit your yellow pages yet.
But I know back in 1976, I wasn't a believer. 1977, I wasn't a believer. I was a knower and have been since then. So again,
that's where all of this comes together. Is we all have different experiences in different places and stuff like that. We need to bring it all because it's all a piece of the puzzle. You know what I mean? Let's start setting the pieces down, figuring out where they fit. And eventually we're going to get a clump of that puzzle going, and we're going to start filling it in more and more. So, I mean, in the quantum theory kind of thing and stuff, it's we're in the third dimension. Humans live in the third dimension. And the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth and ninth dimensions are literally right here with us. We just can't see them. So, it just don't discredit it and don't say, "Oh, that's not possible," because you don't see it with your own eyes. It's just we weren't programmed to see it. So,
they say seeing is believing, but that's not necessarily so. Sometimes you see it and you still don't believe it.
Right. Exactly.
That's how I was my first Bigfoot sighting.
Right. And
I didn't believe in the Gugwee. Then I see Bigfoot. And I'm like, man, that's just an Indian legend. No, it ain't no Indian legend. That legend came to life on March the 1st this year. I called Christy out, I think, right after that happened there, and told her about it.
Yeah, and I was like, what?
Yep.
Did you get the hell out of there? Don't stay there.
Right.
So again, that's my deal. Because I experienced it doesn't mean that I remember the first time I had rocks thrown at me. I thought everybody's crazy. I said, "Bigfoot throws rocks at you." I'm like, man, you lost your mind. No, when you're out there, you get rocks sailing at you, and there ain't nobody else out there for 3 or 4 miles. Or you're getting pine cones, or else you're getting white oak acorns, or you're getting sticks, and nobody else out there. There's something that's throwing them. It's not like there's an invisible catapult out there. Something is throwing them. So again, the things that are there, we don't know everything, and I certainly don't.
When you're 3 people in the back of a woods and all you hear is bah, bah, bah.
On the run.
You tell me they ain't no damn goat, they ain't no damn owl, they ain't no damn coyote.
That's an 800-pound owl.
Yeah, that's when there's that's when there's 2 people in the woods and one semi-violent UPS man heading back towards his vehicle, and those other 2 people are still in the woods. I ain't staying for that, girl.
Well, let me tell you, that ain't a man taking a poop in the woods with a hard shit either. Bam.
I mean, the whole UPS thing kind of reminded me of a story that I heard about a cabin that gets rented out, for the seasons and stuff like that. And they always hire this one particular house cleaner to go in and clean that particular cabin because she's literally right down the road. and it's easy, you know. She can go in the next day, clean it, and it's ready for rent.
Right.
And within a day, you know, 24-hour turnaround. And she always goes in. She leaves the door wide open. It's out in the middle of the woods, and she's upstairs cleaning stuff. And it's got one of those wood decks on the front across the front door. You know, it's got a couple steps on each side, and all of a sudden she hears creaking, and it sounds like that front deck creaking, but from something very heavy, because it doesn't creak under the weight of a human. And she kind of goes to the top of the stairs and peeks down, and she could see from like the knees down something standing there. And she kind of looks down a little further, and she could see from the waist down. And at this point, the waist is more than halfway up the door frame. And she kind of takes a couple steps down, like 2 or 3 steps down the stairs, and notices that whatever is standing there, its shoulders are above the top of the door frame. And she starts to get freaked out, and she's looking for him, trying to get her cell phone out to call her boyfriend to come get her, which is literally right down the street. And this thing,
she actually threw her vacuum at him.
Yeah, it looked at her, it bent down and looked at her under the doorway.
Yeah.
And yeah, like Lewis said, I guess there was a vacuum sitting there by the door because she had been done vacuuming. It literally just took the vacuum and just threw it down the stairs. Yeah, and she ran off, and when she came back, she heard her boyfriend's car pull up, and she came back, and the vacuum was literally like 3/4 of the way up the stairway.
No way.
And it was by the front door, but whatever it was, I mean, took up the entire front door.
Whoa.
So,
Well, Duke, what is the biggest one that you seen? How big was he?
Biggest one that I've seen, or the biggest one we got on camera?
No, the biggest one, the big dude.
No, the biggest one probably about, I don't know, it's hard to guess how big the squatting down one was. 9 or 10 feet tall. Yeah. We got video on a long pan of one that was about 12 feet tall.
12 feet.
Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah, he's
that's huge.
4 times as wide as a human, 12 feet tall.
Yeah.
Wow. How big was his footprint?
Imagine that.
We think we found the footprint from that particular individual before, because we found a couple of giant footprints in that area, and one of them was near where my tent was, about 70 feet from it, and the other one was over on the other side of the canyon, about a quarter mile away, and his tracks are right around 21 inches, so he's a big boy.
Ooh, that's huge.
The size of the one William got the 22-inch tracks from. It's probably an 11, 12 footer.
Ooh.
Exactly. You know, Duke and I, we kind of share information on each other, and we were talking about, he was helping me. I was kind of checking with him as far as what the biggest ones that he knew had seen. Well, I was trying to do a history of Bigfoot in America, not including what the Native Americans have, but the Bigfoot that's been documented. The first one that was seen was Milledgeville, Georgia, and 1829, Duke, isn't that right? And it was 13 foot tall. Then the next one that they found was
13 foot tall because they gunned it down and they measured it.
Yeah, exactly right.
With it.
What the heck?
Yep. So then in 1834, they find one here in Arkansas, and this thing is about 12 foot tall. The first 2 that are recorded, and these are carried by 7 different newspapers, national newspapers. So we tend to think, oh, well, you know, they don't get that big. That's people exaggerate. But you take a look at those documented stories, and you realize, hey, man, you know, maybe they've, you know, I'm not going to say shrunk, but maybe something has caused their evolution within the species where they're not having to be as big as what they used to be. But whatever it is that's building his structures in Montana, man, the Bigfoot I got around here ain't going to handle that. They can't handle those big old, you know, 50 meter long frogs that weigh several thousand pounds. But, you know, his can. So there's
William, that first one that we found, we documented the hell out of that one and made sure Both those trees had actually been moved into place. They were both lodgepole pines. They had all their branches stripped off them. They had most of the bark stripped off them. They were the same diameter, and they were moved into place to form nice, pretty 50-foot tall X structure. When I talked to the local lumberjacks around here, because we got a lumber industry here. Okay, what does a lodgepole pine that big weigh? Answer: 3 tons.
Yep.
So whatever can pick up 3 tons and walk it around and put it into position, that's what did it.
That's so scary to even think like that. That's huge.
What we think about
That's huge.
Pounds, you know, that's just one side of it. Yeah, and we found bigger ones since then.
Wow.
There's also that logging video, the one in Canada, where the loggers took cell phone video of, you could barely see it in the mist. It chucked it what a 60-foot log, like it's a dart.
Javelin. Like it's a javelin.
It just holds it and chucks it, and it just
it's on a show
like it's nothing. And it was a 60-foot log that was about 14 to 16 inches in diameter. I mean, it's at least 2,000 pounds.
It's on a show called Evidence. It just came out probably about 3 months ago was the first time this episode appeared. But if you folks are looking for it, it's in a show called Strange Evidence, and they should have it on the
right. Yeah, they were the one.
And look on the TV channels, and you'll see, and it shows you saying, man, I mean, it's amazing. It's like a javelin tosser. It ain't like
Yep.
It ain't
chucks it.
Yeah, it's not like a lumber strength competition.
It's almost like it guided it with one hand, had it by the butt of the log at the other, and just slid it right up its hand and just shot it straight up. It was
pretty epic.
A human ain't gonna do that.
So, Duke, think what? I couldn't hear you. You said what now?
Tinker Thunker did a breakdown of that video.
Right. And he enhanced it a bit and stuff like that, and that's when you can really see this image kind of come out. And when he slows it down, when he chucks the log, it looks like he's like cupping it with its hand, and he just has the butt of it just with its other hand. Now, if he shot that big old 60 to 70-foot log that fast with one hand, imagine what he could do if he used both hands to throw it. You know what I mean?
It's like these world's strongest man competitions that you see on TV. They'll get that log flip, and they'll pick up the log, and they'll use both hands and flip it maybe 5 feet, and it'll upside down. And you see this thing, like I said, toss it like it's a blasted javelin. You realize just how insignificant we are down here. And this is basically almost the same size body weight. These guys are 350, 360 pounds, 6'5", 6'6", man, built like daggum, giant outhouse.
Yeah, the strongman competitions.
Exactly, with the strong. Yeah. This will kind of let you know. This just lets you know just how insignificant the whatever amount of strength we have. And these guys are pulling buses, man. They can, pull it with their teeth and all these things. And this thing's over there throwing. It makes you realize that, hey, there's some things in this world that we're not, whether we deny it or not, we better be prepared to believe it, because it's that guy that has that right there on video, and it's just one of the most awesome videos I've ever seen.
Speaking of the strongman competitions, I used to watch those all the time just because it's incredible. But if you look at the way the strongman competitors are built, they're not cut. They don't have six packs. They got these big barrel bellies, these big barrel chests. They have no shape. They have no definition. Their arms are big, but they're not defined, just like Bigfoot. You know what I mean? So, and these people are lifting these 500-600 pound round balls up onto these logs and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So,
well, I used to bodybuild, and I bodybuilded for a long time, and then I went into powerlifting. When I went into powerlifting, just like what you're talking about there, my whole body shape changed. I did 65 pounds over my head. If you remember a guy named Vasily Alexiev from Russia, he had a big old barrel chest, and then he had he didn't have the six pack, but he had the real strong abs. When I started powerlifting like that, my shape changed. It wasn't like it was when I was a bodybuilder, where I was all cut up and everything. And then you take a look at the way Bigfoot is built, with the big butt and the big legs and the arms. And I said, you're looking at a head that's bigger than a 5-gallon bucket sitting on a pair of traps up here that look like baby mountains. You look at that,
Right.
hey, now that, you know, I'm kind of get the picture. Look at Andre the Giant, if y'all remember the wrestler, how big he was, and the difference in his body.
And
the way
again, he wasn't cut.
exactly.
He just had that big barrel chest. He didn't, you know, he wasn't all cut up and stuff like that. He was just big and round and just a massive ball of muscle, you know? So, I mean, it's being a bodybuilder as you were, going from being all cut up to this barrel chested, you know, behemoth. What do you think is stronger, being all cut up or just being this barrel chested monster?
Oh, there's no doubt it's being the barrel chested monster, because you have to have a support group of muscles around those joints in order to hold and move that kind of weight. So it totally changed the way I looked at things for me. Like I said, and then again, already having had my experience with this creature, realizing the way that thing is built, composed otherwise. So when you've got the behemoth strength like that, you have people that have cable muscle. They'll be, every now and then there's an exception to every rule there. And they'll have what you call cable muscle, and they're just strong as oxen. But as a rule, you get these big guys like this, and man, there's just no comparison, you know. And that's what we're dealing with Bigfoot. You know, look at the chimpanzee, how strong the chimpanzee is. Now you compare that with a Bigfoot, and then you realize what we're dealing with.
Right.
We can thank God that they're
What do they say? Chimpanzee's 10 times stronger than a human.
Stronger than a human being. And then you think about a Bigfoot that's 3 times.
We're talking 100 times.
Exactly right.
At least a minimum of 100 times stronger.
And
it makes us thankful that they're not after human beings. If they were, there wouldn't be a one of us alive. You know.
Right. And of course, Duke. I mean, we're talking about the biggest one.
Well, Duke can tell you those
seen
stories.
And stuff like that, but he didn't get to see Galag.
Yeah,
but
right. Yeah.
he discussed with Kevin Lang,
right,
his last time of getting to see Galag. And how tall did he say Galag was?
14.5 feet. We estimate his weight at about 5,000 pounds. He had a 26.5-inch footprint.
There you go, people. Yeah. There you go.
Big.
Yeah.
Big boy.
I mean, he picked Kevin up in his hand like he was a puppet, like he was a toy, you know? I mean,
Black
well, he put
a forest fire, and he literally picked her up in his hand and carried her away.
Right.
Her head was like, her head was going off this part, you know, of the hand, and her legs were hanging off that side.
It was a typical King Kong movie when he grabs the girl out of the building and stuff and holds her.
Granted, small-sized human, but still, you know.
Right.
Yeah, and then when he pulled Kevin's arm out of the socket by pulling him going up, 60 foot up in a tree, and
that's when he was just like 9.5 feet tall. Then he was.
Yeah.
So
he was just a little boy still.
Just imagine if he was 14 feet tall climbing up the tree with Kevin, he probably would have ripped his arm out of the socket.
He would have left Kevin on the ground and had his arm in his hand.
Yeah, he wouldn't have had to go the tree. He would have just mushed whatever it was threatening him. A 14.5 foot, 5,000 pound Bigfoot could punch out a T-Rex. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Godzilla and King Kong don't stand a chance, right?
Uh-uh.
But I got
eye with him, and Glag knows Aikido too. So when he gives him one of those Aikido punches in the face, that's the end of T-Rex.
Oh,
But I got a chance
when he was just 8.5 feet tall.
Well, I got a chance to talk to Kevin before he passed away. You hear some of these stories, you think, oh, well, that's kind of crazy. But when Kevin tells them exactly the same way as what you've heard him told on Duke's show, without hardly any variance at all, that's one way you can tell when somebody's not lying to you, because there'll be some difference in their story. Not I'm talking about where they get ahead of themselves or anything, or they have a slip of the tongue, but the story, it goes just like he's told it before. And then you start realizing, man, if that's happening and somebody's finishing the other person's sentence, you can just about bet that what they're telling you is the truth. And after I talked to Kevin, I'm like, man, you know, I want to go, you know, but I want you to be my mediator between me and Glag, you know, but yeah, so you hear those kind of stories, and go back and look through history and see how many times, you know, man, like I said, I'm as big a Bible believer as you want to meet, but man, I know also all of a sudden the Bible starts talking a lot about stories of the giant people or the giant animals and things like that. Yeah, we might not have them today, but like I said, they were there, and we don't, you know, we don't know if there's a remnant. We don't know what it is. So people that close their minds to that, they're really shutting themselves out of something other that I think are real knowledge that could come to them.
You know, when it comes to the whole story of Kevin and Glag, I mean, you're talking about something that happened to Kevin when he was, what, 16 years old? You know, 16, 17 years old in high school. I mean, before high school.
He was a kid.
Yeah, he was a kid, you know.
And so was Glag.
It went through his whole life until he really got into adulthood and ended up moving. You know what I mean? But he did get a chance to go back, and Glag knew he was there. There was still that connection after all that time. And Glag knew he was in the area and was able to get him to go, you know, with the help of quite a few people. You know, Kevin got to go back out and see Glag and meet his family and his kids, you know, before he passed away. But there was always that connection because they had that connection, you know, from the beginning. And I think the reason they had that connection is because they were both going through some of the same emotional stuff in life at the same time, in the same place, you know, and they understood each other.
Well, Glag lost his family due to somebody shooting him, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But I mean, we're talking about just like trauma and not being able to,
I'm saying,
you know, finding themselves in what direction in life, and
right. But they were both at a different same emotional state as when they met each other.
Right.
He needed somebody in his life, and Glag needed somebody in his life. So,
right.
Man.
They both had that hole to fill, you know, as we say it. But you know, I mean,
he was an orphan, and Kevin, you know, he was the youngest kid in the family. He got picked on by all his older brothers.
Right.
Yes.
There's that similarity.
Yeah.
If anybody doubts the relationship, there's something you can check on the internet. Y'all go look, and this includes the people that are might be listening to us. It's called Oliver the Human-Z. Oliver was supposed to be
Human-Z. Yeah.
He walked upright from the very minute he was born, but the several times that he got separated from his owners, and he would go to either chimp researchers or somebody else was having, they would exhibit him, and he would meet these people all these years later that had raised him at a certain time in his life. Man, all of a sudden the kinship was there. They were hugging, and you would see tears in Oliver's eyes, you would see tears in their eyes, and this is documented. So, and this relationship that they had. So, I said, so that may sound, well, it's a little hard to believe. No, you go out there and look at that, and we've got an exact example right there on the internet telling the story about Oliver and the very same things that he and Kevin went through on their
connections.
Restoring the relationship. And so we're very, very
connections.
The connections were there. So Kevin, that was something he was very lucky to get to experience, and I was going to get to go hunting with Kevin before.
I'll never forget something that Kevin said. He's like, I love going out in the woods because I had the best bodyguard ever. You know, and he's like, I could go out there, ain't nothing gonna mess with me because I got Glag behind me. You know what I mean? It was awesome. You know, the best bodyguard ever.
I'd like to take Glag to
being out in the woods.
Yep. I'd like to take Glag to Washington, D.C. and go up there and clean out some of this bull crap we got out there.
Oh, right. Right. We'll just send Glag in to clean up the mess. Here's your mop. Here's your bucket. Right there. Point him in the direction. Say, there you go, buddy.
You go. That's it.
Have at it. I'll see you when you get done.
Well, guys, I have medicine I have to take here. I'm underneath surgery still, and I'm had a dental surgery, so I've got to take some medicine. But I've enjoy getting to spend time with everybody. Again, thank everybody for listening, and I'm very honored to get to be on such a distinguished group of you guys. I mean, we all have a lot of respect for each other, and like I said, we're not easy to fool, and
Right.
so I do really having to do this. Like I said, I appreciate everybody that allowed me to be here with them, and I look forward to us getting together here pretty soon for sure. And I've already started my next video for Duke's show there. Got a picture of Bigfoot yesterday, eyes looking right at you, on my cell phone. So there's part 3 coming up. Guys, I'm going to let y'all go. Thank you for everybody that listened. Like I said, I'm sorry my scroll down here wasn't working, but like I said, if I don't take this medicine, I may not be here with y'all for that next show. So I definitely want to do that. So thanks everybody, and I'm gonna get on out of here.
All right, thank you, William.
Thank you for being on.
Y'all too. Thank you. Bye. We'll see y'all. You too.
Right.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool that that William has a lot of stuff for you, Duke. That's pretty cool.
I mean, it's great to hear
cool.
the stories like Lewis's, like mine, and like Christie's, and
So he just sends me stuff all the time, and then I pile it up until it gets to the point where there's enough to do a show. And then I go, okay, it's time to record again.
it's great to hear stories like all of ours, Lewis and Christy and Duke and William and mine, and listen to our stories, but we also pick out the similarities in all of them. You know what I mean? Which
there is. Yeah.
really goes to show that they're all they have like a fundamental base of what they do, but then they throw their own little spin on it. You know what I mean? Each individual or every tribe that that we all deal with differently, it's all very similar, but with their own little spin on it. So it's really great to hear the similarities and pick out the differences between them all.
It's those commonalities that point out.
Yeah,
that
I think
if it was imaginary, they'd be making up all kinds of wild, different stories. But the fact that so much of it seems to be the same over and over and over, that tells you it's a real critter, and that it's got the same kind of behavior most of the parts of the world where you're going to find them.
Right.
Being in the local environment, what they need to do to get food and shelter. Basically that's it.
Right.
Yeah. Like he said, each and every one of us has had experience, encounter, interaction, but everything comes to the same level of understanding what these cryptids are, and once we get together and put that information together, then we can put the pieces of the puzzle together,
That's right. Yep. And one day we'll get to see the whole picture, hopefully.
Right.
That'd be great, man.
And look at the bright side. We may have silly names for him like Bigfoot, but they could have called him like Big Stinker or something too.
Right.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, I've had one smell of one that was from Fletch when I discovered him, and he took off down a certain direction. I went walking down the same road, and apparently he thought I was coming after him.
Oh no!
And that smell stunk. It smelled like a porta potty that hadn't been cleaned in 8 months on a big job site in the sun. It was like a wall. I walked through it about 8 feet, and then it went away. It was just a 8-foot section of stink coming up the hill with the wind. It was so weird.
Wall of stink.
That's gross.
Fletch was probably going. Fletch was probably going. Man, Kevin, can you fart somewhere else?
It was much hypothesized Bigfoot amazing fart power that they have. They can just ass rip on.
Right? Can you imagine? Oh my gosh.
So
leaving a big
I've
old
never heard him do that yet.
I would expect it to be really bad smelling,
Yeah, but it
Can
definitely.
imagine. Oh my god.
I definitely think it's a fear deterrent when they think they're potentially in trouble. Kind of like us in BO, they kind of just admit a smell like a skunk. You know what I mean? I don't know. They don't even know they're doing it. You know, but just it's
Squash
just
breath.
Right, probably, yeah.
so.
Maybe.
I think that's what's going on too. I think it has something to do with fear or alarm response, and they can sort of admit it, whether they're doing it consciously or not, because they're not doing it all the time. I've been around Bigfoot enough times. There's, the vast majority of the times that I've been around them, there's no smell at all.
Right.
2 times I've been around them.
Yeah, I've never smelled anything either.
Yeah.
But that was the only time I ever smelled one, and I know exactly why I smelled it, because he thought I was coming after him.
Yeah.
He went down a certain way, I came down a way, and he came across just before I came down, and he thought I was coming after him. You know what I mean? So, but I haven't smelled it since.
I
So
I smelled them. They smelled like BO, like musky BO, deer piss.
Feel like a dirty,
Like a wet dog. That's what I hear a lot.
Yeah.
No, I never
Yeah, I
smelled
hear
wet
that a
dog.
lot.
Last one I smelled
No.
smelled kind of like a combination of a dirty wet dog and an electrical fire.
Wow, that's bad.
that's
Bad.
Oh my god!
Hell saying, "Oh, dude, go jump in the river and take a bath. You stink."
yeah, that electrical smell is nasty.
Mhm.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah, dude.
So
That's what I'm doing right now. Electrical.
Ew. Oh, that's why I see smoke.
yeah, the soldering iron.
Yeah, that's soldering. I'm soldering right now. Yeah, trying to get this battery done, man. Driving me nuts.
Yeah.
I've been working on it for a
He's
couple
working
days.
on
I'm
the
tired of waiting.
he's working on the battery for his bicycle, for Oscar's bicycle.
Yeah, his dog.
He's making
Right.
his bicycle go faster for Oscar.
That's right. His mohawk stays up. We're not going fast enough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Put his mohawk.
yeah. If Oscar can raise his ears at full speed, he's not going fast enough. So he had to buy a new battery.
This bike I got now,
and-
it goes 60 miles per hour. So I think this is fast enough.
Whoa.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that should be fast enough.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, with a dog in the back.
That's fast.
80.
He
80's
thinks
fast
he thinks
enough.
Crazy.
You got to be able to do freeway speeds, man.
he thinks he's from Dorothy from the Wizard of Oz with the dog in the basket.
I know.
This is a 2020
Oh,
version
right,
of
that's
Wizard of
enough
Oz.
now. Don't tell,
I'm off to see the Bigfoot.
don't tell Oscar that, dude.
We're off to see the Bigfoot of Oz.
Hey, I did. I took the bike over there. I did that when the Bigfoot broke the branch. Man, I put him in that basket. We're gone because that's basically what he told us to do. Oh my god, we are gone, dude. We're
The
like,
Bigfoot's like, what the hell is that he's on? Oh my god! Whoa!
yeah.
I've never seen something.
I never seen
one of
myself
them
do a
humans move
wheelie.
so fast without
Yeah.
moving their legs.
Or a dog going whoop.
Yeah, and that's all you get is a howl out of those things, huh?
Whoop.
Oh yeah, man. I can fly
they
on
do.
this thing.
The electric motors on those bikes, they howl. They're crazy. They're crazy
Yeah.
sounding. So,
And I got
But
two
Oscar
of them.
loves
Want me to send one to you?
what's the size of it? 26 inch.
26 inch.
I need a
Yeah.
20 inch. I need a 20 inch for my
Oh, it's
drift
not
trike.
re-spoked yet, but
I need a 20 inch drift trike.
it's a $500. It's a $500 kit. You can find it, buy a cheap bike for freaking 26 inch, bike. You know what I mean?
I would just go take my daughter's bike and
Well,
do
hey
it.
guys, I hate to be the
can
party
walk the pedal.
pooper of the crowd here or something, but like I literally have to go before the store closes so I can get food to eat tonight because I've
Okay, Duke.
Yeah.
No.
That's
You got to stay longer, Duke. No. hold on. No. He's like, nope.
Blood sugar.
All right. Hey, it was nice meeting you, man.
Yeah, it was
Thanks
great
for coming on
talking
the
to
show. I
you guys.
appreciate it.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me on the show. I had a great time. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to come back again at some point.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
you will. We
Yeah,
will
that's
invite
cool.
you and
Yeah, you
William
will.
back on. We will, because you got
Yeah,
more stories
absolutely.
to
That'd be
tell.
great.
You got
Yeah,
more
go-
stories to tell.
I know yeah,
if you
we
guys
know
want to
you
hear
do.
some more from me this week, I'll be on Soundless Beast on Thursday. You can go watch that show too.
Okay. What is
What
it
is it?
again? Sawdust Beast.
Sawdust Beast? Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Mark
I'll put that on in the description.
Be
all
on,
right.
be on that one on Thursday, I
Ooh.
guess, is when that's going to be on. So,
Thursday.
yep. All right, you guys, love you. Thanks for letting
At
me
what
on.
time?
Tonight. Don't forget, don't
All right.
hug the
The
Wookiee.
Wookiee.
Don't hug the
Woo! Ah!
Glad to have you,
Bye,
Dick. See you
dude.
next time, buddy.
All right. See ya.
All right, y'all. Well,
Hey.
we thank everybody for watching and being here with us with Duke
Yeah.
and William Lunsford,
Oh.
which we really appreciate for coming on the show. We thank both of y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all are
Thank you.
awesome people.
Doug, Lori, Parkway, Sharon, everybody
Everybody.
out there in the
Hey,
thank you.
Parkway changed his logo, huh? What happened to
He
your
did,
logo,
he did.
Parkway?
He does that sometimes. He does, gotta
Wow.
mix it up a little bit, keep people on their toes,
I guess so.
So-
So we
Well, thank
we
you everybody for
appreciate
coming by.
Yes, we appreciate everybody for coming to the show. We thank you. We appreciate you. Y'all have a wonderful and blessed night. And
Lewis, glad to have you back.
yes.
I know,
Sure.
man. I was going through
Been a
Bigfoot fever,
long
I'm telling you.
Been a
Yes,
long
I told him
time.
he better get
Man.
on here. Because
Yeah,
Because
she said
not
no matter
only
what,
that-
you're going on.
yes, because Duke, that he's a big dude of the Bigfoot world, he knows a lot,
Well, so does William.
Good people. So does William. Yes, so does William. But that how I discovered Duke is by driving around all day and listening to the stories, and his stories popped out to me,
So, Lewis, who do we have for next week?
We have Tom Contrell. We're going to have him next week. He wants to talk about one of his books that he
Yes.
just got done with. So he's going to go over that with us and let us know what's in store for the book and stuff. And
Wonderful,
try to
wonderful.
entice people to buy one.
What is this, like number 12 or 13? Something like that of his books?
Yeah, he's done a
And
lot.
he-
Yeah, shoot.
He's been doing this since before the Patterson Gimlin video,
Yeah,
At least 150
So-
he's-
years. Yeah, he's been doing this forever.
right?
150 years.
Over 50 years.
I thought you said
He's
150.
been doing Bigfoot in a long time. I did say 150. But yeah, he's been doing it.
He's
You
been
said
doing it
150.
longer than the Patterson Gimlin video has been out. So, yeah, he knows
That's a
what's
long
up.
time.
He knows
Yeah,
what's up.
he's another good person, Tom. There's a
Oh,
lot of good people in this
Yeah.
the Bigfoot world.
Huh?
Yeah.
I'm not saying community because I don't like to use that. It's Bigfoot world to me,
Right. Because it's
Yeah.
worldwide.
No, it's
Yeah, it's
community.
worldwide. It's not a community to me.
You know,
All
I
right.
know it's not. No, I was just messing.
I know you were. All right, well, y'all stay on for a second. I'm gonna end it right quick. So
He said, "Call me Duke."
thank you all for
Still here.
coming,
Oh,
and we'll see you all next week.
yes, we'll see y'all next week at 7:00 with Tom Cantrell. Be there or be
no,
square.
7 o'clock.
Yeah, 7.
Oh yeah, 7 your time.
Yes.
Your time. Okay, my time. I'm all messed up. I was thinking.
Yeah,
Are
you
you-
screwed up.
Are you central?
You smelling? Wait, no, he's smelling that smoke from the electrical. That's why his brain is not
I was
thinking.
thinking 5 o'clock.
Christy, are
5
you
o'clock
central?
my time.
Yes, I'm central.
You're central. Okay, so
Yeah,
Yeah, Central. Yeah.
We're going back to our normal schedule because I wanted to.
Yeah.
You're
You know,
on the quarter of the Central East Coast time, huh?
Well, no. The reason why I did 8 o'clock tonight was because of Duke had
Right.
his show, and I wanted to be able to, you know, be respectful. You know, that's how it is.
That's why he's not too far behind. Yeah. So they can be here together.
Exactly.
We're all working together, right?
Working together, exactly. You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, well,
what we
y'all
do.
two stay on for a second. Everybody, have a good night. God
Thank
bless.
y'all for joining.
Like
Great,
Duke
we're in
says,
trouble
he says,
again,
don't hug the
Kevin.
Wookiee.
Don't hug the
No,
Wookiee.
you're not in
We're in
trouble.
trouble
You're not in
again,
trouble.
Kevin.
You're not in trouble. No, you're not. You're not in trouble.
I'm gonna hang up real fast.
You better not. I'll call you.
I'll be like, Kevin,
like-
hang up.
Like Duke says, don't hug the Wookiee. I say Sasquatch, peace, Sasquatch, grease. Everybody have a good night.